on locations throughout the world.
Standing passengers, please do not lean against the doors.
Picture goers, we bring to you new films of interest.
Chicago in State is next. Doors open on the left.
The miracle of the motion picture.
Please be considerate when talking on your phone or listening to electronic devices.
Chicago's a nice town if you're looking for pizza.
Welcome to 4 Stars, a Chicago film podcast, a podcast where we talk about movies set in Chicago.
Each episode, we will be discussing a movie that is set in and or was filmed in the Chicago area, its cultural historic relationship to Chicago, and whether it's a good representation of the city.
We want to figure out what makes Chicago movies different from movies about other cities, and to answer the question of what a Chicago movie even is. I'm one of your hosts, Paco Alvarez, a journalist based in Chicago.
And I'm your other host, the GM of the Heights Theater, and filmmaker, Jeremy Martyr.
And on today's episode, we have an action-packed episode where we will be talking about the Oceans Trilogy, directed by Steven Soderbergh, and Scott Preston's 2006 Eight of Diamonds, somewhat starring Eric Roberts.
Somewhat, yeah.
He's in it.
He's in a car. That's for sure.
He's sitting. This is the fourth episode in our heist series, One Last Score, where we're looking at the heists and bank robberies of Chicago. So we're talking about some heist movies, somewhat based in Chicago, and one Chicago movie that sort of has a heist in it.
Yep, exactly. We're discussing cards and tricks and scams and backstabbings and all that. That's it. We're rolling it all into one because we didn't think the Oceans movies, we didn't have enough to talk about. So we had to turn it into a blockbuster episode and make sure we talk about it. The movie we all want to hear about, Eight of Diamonds.
Eight of Diamonds.
All right, the Oceans franchise, Paco. I'm ready to go. Rat-a-tat. Let's go. Let's put on the Ritz. I'm excited about this movie. There's so much to talk about and sift through here. It's such a rich text.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like there's almost like too much. Like there's like 11 characters and there's only 2 of us. Like that doesn't seem really like, how is that going to work?
I don't know. Like, is there someone that we could call right now? Wait, get your phone out. Get your Rolodex out. Let's look through. We should put the crew together.
Yeah.
Do you know who was really good last time?
Who?
Local legend Alex Gomez talking about Primal Fear. I think we should call Alex. Can you call her real quick?
Yes.
Hello?
Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing so good. How are you guys?
Good. I just had a feeling that you wanted to talk Chicago. Do you wanna put together a little heist and talk oceans with us?
I would love to. Thank you for thinking of me. But you know what? Like, I feel like when I was on last time, I wanted to bring on another Chicago perspective. I know another lifelong Chicagoan. We grew up together. I think she'd have a lot of great opinions about this. I think we need to call in my Music Box trivia co-host, Kimberly Villanueva.
Let's call Kim.
All right, let me get her on the line.
Hello?
Hey,
Alex?
what's up?
Oh my god. Hey, what's up? You just calling to say hi?
I'm just calling to say hi, but also, Jeremy and Paco from the 4 Stars podcast.
Heard of them.
We are putting together a heist to talk about the Oceans Trilogy. Would you be interested in joining?
Oh, thank you for thinking of me. Happy to do it, happy to help, but I just don't think we can do the heavy lifting alone. I think we need to call in our mutual guy, Carmel, Chicago resident, movie expert, and another co-host of the Music Box Trivia.
Let's get her.
Should I get her?
Yes.
Ring, 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 ring. Ring.
Hello.
Carmel.
Hey, Kimberly, what's up?
So much. I have, can you help me out with something?
Yeah, what's going on?
Okay, we're gonna do Jeremy's podcast and Paco. Know them? Heard of them?
Love that podcast.
Okay, all about the Oceans Trilogy. Are you down?
Oh, I would love to. Oh, how fun. But it feels good, but like, you think we need one more? I think we need one more. Yeah, we need one more. I got Reach on speed dial.
Together.
Hello?
Hey, Richa.
Hey.
So we are putting together a crew to talk about the Oceans movies on the Four Stars podcast with Jeremy and Paco, and I really think we need your insight and expertise. Are you
I've been
down?
waiting for this call my whole life. Sign me up.
Let's talk oceans. Thank you for joining us. We have the crew of the Music Box Trivia +1. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk oceans. All right, now that the gang is all here, we are all gathered. We are ready to do the job. Let's throw it to each one of you and let us know, what is your connection to the city of Chicago?
Also, you should say your names so that people listening can know who you are.
Let's start with the non-Chicagoans, and then let's work our way through the Chicagoans.
Hi, I'm Carmel. I am from Southern California. My connection to Chicago is that my dad grew up in Hammond, Indiana, and so I came out here to visit like at least once a year my whole life. And lifelong Cubs fan, that kind of family thing. And then I moved here during 2020 because it was always a cool place to me. And then shortly after that, began doing love the Music Box so much and began doing movie trivia there, and now at the Davis and like other places. And yeah. Also, I'm watching ER, which also really puts me in the Chicago mindset.
Hi, I'm Richa. My Chicago connection is, well, they're like, I guess, kind of a few, I don't know. But in 1993, when my parents first moved here from India, they moved to Palos Hills. And they kind of moved between Kansas and the Chicago suburbs for a bit. But my mom moved when she first flew to America, October 31st, 1993. She landed at O'Hare Airport. So that was her layover to Kansas. But they did live here for a year back then. And then my older brother was born in Oak Lawn, but he moved back here. Oh, also, I grew up in South Florida, so very different, Fort Lauderdale. And my brother moved here in 2019, and then I moved here 5 years ago, so 2021. I met Kim through our shared job at the time, which was an AmeriCorps position at a CPS school, Sullivan High School in Rogers Park, and worked there for a year, and now am working at the Illinois Department of Public Health. So have created some Chicago roots. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of Kim, I'm Kimberly, and I was born and raised in Chicago. And damn, when you're born and raised in Chicago, like that's it. That's the end of the of the discussion. That's it.
And hi again, my name is Alex. Everyone knows me because I'm gunning for third chair of the Four Stars podcast. You may remember me from the Primal Fear episode. I was also born and raised in Chicago, and I'll keep it simple and stick to that. But I think we're all Chicagoans here, all listeners and all attendees.
If you commit a heist in Chicago, you're Chicagoan. So we've all just gotten,
Yeah.
Done with our first
Baptized.
heist. Yeah, we're all yeah, trial by fire Chicagoans here on the podcast. It was very rude of me to throw it to the non-Chicagoans. I think it is fitting though that we are talking about maybe the least textually Chicago movie we've ever covered on the podcast. This is a Las Vegas franchise in my opinion, with a jaunt to Europe, right? And I think the fun part about covering a movie like this as Chicagoans, all of us, is viewing it through that lens, what sort of rises and bubbles to the surface as Chicagoans. Like the reason we're adding it to this series, we're doing a heist series. This is the number one thing that people think of when they think of heist movies. The clearest and most obvious connection is that they filmed in the city of Chicago for the Matt Damon scene, right? That is the reason why we threw this on the schedule. But I'm curious if, in your experience watching the movie, what other Chicago focused things bubble to the surface for you all?
The other mostly outwardly named Chicago thing is that Bernie Mac's character is from Chicago, and that's in like the very beginning of Ocean's 11, right on the tag, Chicago, Illinois. And I think we were trying to figure out where he was. I think it was Atlantic City that he was working when they recruited him, but that is the first thing that comes to mind.
Bernie Mac, the absolute legend. I mean, one of my favorite actors, period. And I would say, I had a birthday party that I think at least 2 or 3 of the people on this podcast were at, where we watched Mr. 3000. We're am I right that Alex and Carmel and Kim, were you all there?
I think we missed that one.
I was there for it was the Five Kings or no, Nine Kings.
Yes,
No.
9 Kings. So you were there at the year before. That was the year prior, but the year following that, Paco's going to cut all that out, and I'm going to look really cool that people actually showed up to my birthday party. I watched a movie very near and dear to my heart, Mr. 3000, Bernie Mac's baseball masterpiece. A movie that to me really bummed me out that it wasn't shot and filmed in Chicago. Like that's so clearly a movie that should be him on the White Sox, but probably due to Jerry Reinsdorf, it was Milwaukee. For whatever reason, he was, too cheap on catering or whatever it was on set. I watched that movie and it washed over me. It was just like, God, like Bernie Mac is one of the top 10 Chicagoans of all time. Like we should have 3 streets named after Bernie Mac.
I'll say growing up watching the Bernie Mac show, I never does that take place in Chicago? I never I don't know. I never clocked. Maybe it's because I was just in a Chicago mindset watching it, but I don't know, Richa, Carmel, did you grow up watching it and did you clock that it was taking place in a particularly Midwestern context?
No, I'm learning for the first time that he starts out in Chicago in Ocean's 11.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know that either. I think we looked it up after. I didn't even know he was from Chicago until we were rewatching the movies, and then we looked it up and I was like, oh my God, he's got all his roots here. So
he was very important, I would say, to the 90s, 80s, 90s comedy scene in Chicago, and took the other route away from the Hughes sort of comedy scene that was happening. Was that there was this bubbling, very edgy stand-up scene on the South Side. And he was a big part of that. Sort of what a lot of comedians have described as the most hostile audiences towards comedy in the world are in Chicago, and that's why we have such good comedy here, is because if a crowd doesn't like you, they will turn on you. And I've been told that no one kills in a room more than Bernie Mac. I am unlucky enough that I never got to experience that personally, but that's what some comedy friends of mine have told me, is that that Bernie Mac was just the funniest person in the world in stand up. But yeah, I would say that's the number one biggest connection for me outside of Matt Damon, which we will get to. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I just wanted to center this conversation because we're talking about Oceans and everyone's going to be listening to this being like, why are they covering Oceans? And Paco, do you have an answer to other Chicago stuff, or do any of you guys? Because I have one, but I'll wait.
I'm sorry to be dragging the Bernie Mac thing, but I grew up watching it, and it takes place in LA, and there's a 2-part episode where the family comes to Chicago and they go to the funeral.
Fuck. I really remembered it as Chicago.
Yeah, I was quiet from it and I was like, where was that? I remember.
Paco, we can't cover it, I guess.
Yeah, well, we can cover that 2-part episode.
Oh, we'll cover the
2-parter.
That's fair.
Is the other Chicago connection you're thinking of that Scott Conn is in it, and he's James Caan's son?
No, but that's a good call. No. My call, and tell me if I'm wrong here, is that Oprah is the heart of the third movie, yes. The heart of Ocean's 13. And I was sitting there watching the end of Ocean's 13 not 45 minutes ago, going, right, this is why we're doing this, is because Oprah is Danny's sitting there watching Oprah, and then they have Andy Garcia's character literally go to Oprah and give all of his money away. Big Chicago herself. So I just wanted to bring that part up.
Is that's the end of 13, right?
Mhm.
Oprah. Okay, so that's a nice like beginning and end book ending. They give us that the trilogy is actually a Chicago trilogy.
Exactly.
Because I
Exactly.
was gonna say that, like, because the first one they filmed there when they're introducing Matt Damon, the second one, they're really lazy about it. It's like they're in Chicago, but they're in a car for like 3 seconds. And then I was like, there was nothing popping up for me for the third one. So I'm glad found a way to bring it back.
Sometimes you are in a car in Chicago, though. That was my internal justification. I was like, sometimes I'm just in a car, you
I
know.
think like research, I also found that they filmed, there was like a Tribune article that was like ocean by the lake, and it was like they're filming in like Lake Villa or something for the second one where Julia Roberts and Danny are living um in like the suburbs, and it's like filmed in the Chicago suburbs.
On the neighborhood route, not to jump ahead too much, but like I was trying to figure out like where do we think Linus is like from?
Okay,
Or like
let's
where do
just dive
people
in.
Yeah.
Let's dive in. Let's dive in. We will get back to talking about the plot of the Ocean's movies, which are very good and very complicated. But I think this is paramount.
Yes.
Like, we need to figure out where he's from.
I agree.
I think he's from the North Shore.
Ooh. But do you think that he's living in the North Shore when he's like pickpocketing on the Brown Line, or has he already transplanted to living somewhere in the city by that
I
point?
can't imagine where he would move, like what Ravens would.
I think, well, yeah, I
You know,
think off the Brown Line, maybe Ravenswood. I was also thinking like he seems like he would live like in 2001, like the scene of like, you know, Old Town, like South Lincoln Park. I was like, I could really imagine him in like that area. Risha, you were gonna say something. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, agreeing that I think he might be off the Brown line because also they show the Brown line in the movie, but I could see him. I don't know what the vibe of Lincoln Square was like back then, but like Ravenswood maybe I could see him being on that end of the
I'm
Brown line.
feeling very targeted right now.
I live in Lincoln Square. I love it here, but I don't know what it was
Shout
like.
out in 2001. Yeah, he was like
Yeah.
hobnobbing with Jeremy, and shout out our friend Greta, also Lincoln Square native. I'm thinking like maybe he was pickpocketing on the Brown Line because that's the rich people line, you know? Maybe he's actually, off the Blue Line somewhere gentrifying Logan Square in 2001 or
I was
Wicker
gonna
Park.
I was gonna say my vision for him is someone who like I think that he probably with his parents like grew up North Shore, kind of rejected that, took on the pickpocketing life and like was like a gentrifier and like living like, without their support.
when I was in college, I nannied for this family that lived in the South Loop in a condo, and for some reason, I imagine him living in that condo. Like that's where I think he is.
I think I feel like if you were a good pickpocket, you wouldn't want to pickpocket on the train line you live on, you know? Because it's like that's just like the guaranteed way for you to get caught because like you're gonna be there all the time. I feel like he was probably like doing like I kind of see like the Old Town Lincoln Park type thing, just like the preppy way he was dressed. Like he looks like if you go to like one of those bars, like he looks like one of those guys in there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that my estimation for him changed movie from movie. I mean, he's really the only one other than Catherine Zeta-Jones who we have like revealed information about his family each movie. And like, first movie I'm like, "Oh, this is a Mount Greenwood kid cuz he's Irish and he, is Matt Damon and I'm thinking about that." And he's like preppy, so he's like putting on airs. He like came from a rough and tumble family, but he's putting on airs. And then you introduce his mom. You introduce Cherry Jones, and you I get a different feeling from her. I get a Linkin Park vibe, and like he's like, "Don't tell my dad. Don't tell him." And I'm imagining his dad is some waspy, awful human being, and I was like, "That's definitely Linkin Park." But then Bob Einstein comes in Ocean's 13, and I'm like, okay, Bob Einstein is Maxwell Street. Like that is pure Maxwell Street, South Loop area. Then they got rich and went to the northern suburbs, North Shore, and then they moved back to the city. That's my and that's where we can tie in the Ravenswood. So maybe I am projecting a little bit here because that's probably the journey of my family. Also, really catching me off guard that Matt Damon's Jewish. In this movie, Bob Einstein. They made the choice to make him the dad. That's on them. But anyway, that's my take. We feel free to disagree.
I think I can buy into the idea of like a, sixth generation, Jewish family living in Bridgeport or living on Maxwell Street, and then maybe he moves to the North Shore. His parents are both FBI agents, right? So it's like, where would an FBI agent live? Where would they summer in Chicago? I guess the North Shore, and then they like spend most of their time in DC or whatever.
But they're both pretending to be FBI, right? Like,
I thought they're both
Oh, are they?
criminals.
That's what
Oh, they're con people. I thought they were like actually FBI agents. Okay, then yeah, con people can live wherever they want.
I think they both just like project that air of authority
Yeah.
so well that you don't question it. But I think
Mhm.
they're both career criminals.
And how do we? We'll come to last names later. Reach has a great thing to add about last names, but I want to say Linus Caldwell, but Jewish father. So what's his mom? Why does he have the Caldwell name? What is that? Like English?
Really interesting question. I if I had to
Is
guess,
it a fake name?
it's a fake name. It has to be, they changed it at the port or whatever. But like, whatever at whatever point did they decide that they were no longer going to be the Rabinovitzes and instead they're the Caldwells.
And the reference to Caldwell Woods, northwest side of Chicago, maybe they just use it. They use that name. Linus, also a weird name, I think, or if we're looking for origin. But yeah,
I think also, I guess kind of two things. The one thing, because his parents are career criminals, I was like, they could also be putting on airs the way that Linus is. So it really is, it makes it kind of confusing of where they could be from because of that, because we don't really know what they're actually like. It never occurred to me that they could actually just be working for the FBI, but my interpretation was also career criminals. Um, and then also what Alex was saying about my my thoughts about last names, which we can get into later about Ocean's 12, but it makes me feel like Soderbergh, or whoever's writing the last names of these characters, is not really thinking about what their last name means in reference to the character. Which I guess I can just say now, but my funny thing about Ocean's 12 is that Isabel Lahiri is Catherine Zeta-Jones's name, and Lahiri is an Indian last name. It's from Bengal. It's only from Bengal. Like, it's from nowhere else. So I'm like, where did she get this last name
Do you
from?
think he just thinks
Are
it's
they
funny?
just trying to make her mixed without
'Cause-
really, like, even though we meet her dad at the potentially, at the end of the movie. So yeah, I don't know. I'm like, maybe they're just not putting that much thought into what the last names mean.
Because what's his name? Hagrid. What's that actor's name? Is Matsui, right? Which is a Japanese name. I think Soderbergh thinks it's funny. I don't know how funny it is, but Soderbergh probably just thinks it's like, we're gonna be saying the name Lahiri, we're gonna be saying the name Matsui, and then introducing the character. And I think he's just like, oh, that's so clever. And again, love these movies, love Soderbergh, but I think that's part of his weird sort of blind spotty record.
that's his nod to the brown face you mentioned that they do in the original Ocean's 11. He said, "How can I cheekily nod to this? Let's throw in a Bengal last name."
I didn't realize that guy was Hagrid, but that's a nickname, Matsui. His real name is Ian Nicholas McNally in the movie. So he's not. So I think that still doesn't solve the Lahiri thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I never assumed until I was older, when I found out she was Welsh, that Catherine Zeta-Jones. I thought she was a brown woman. I thought she was Latina my whole life. And I found out when I was probably in college that she was Welsh. So that is, maybe on me, but I think that she played ethnically ambiguous characters her whole career. She was definitely one of those, striking, mysterious women, and she would play characters from all over the world.
So should we get into okay, maybe before we get into the plot, I'm kind of curious what your guys' relationship to the Oceans movie are and like why you were also excited to talk about them specifically.
Could we start with Richa? Because we originally, when we started this episode, we were like, we're gonna bring on the trivia girls, and they were like, we need to bring in Richa. Like, this is our ringer right here. So can we start with you, Richa?
Yeah, I mean, the connection is it's mostly just that these are like my favorite movies of all time. I think especially 11 and 12, but I still love 13. And I just grew up watching them. My mom really likes Matt Damon. She loves the Bourne movies. Like I grew up watching the Bourne movies, and then the Oceans movies as well. And they were just, like always on TV, always on TNT, TBS, replaying. So I just have seen them a bunch of times, and I just they're just such perfect movies. I don't know. I think that's the connection really. And I would watch them with my mom a lot. So
Um, I relate a lot to like they were just on cable all the damn time. Like I, you know, whatever, probably spent like 14 hours in a year watching them just because of commercials. But I was like, I don't have my high school yearbook anymore. And I was not willing to like go to my parents' house and try to find it. But my high school yearbook quote, and Alex helped me pick it, it was like between two things. It was between Gattaca's, like, I was as good as any and better than most, which I think was like too intimate for my high school class. But what I went with was the tips that they're giving Linus when they're like, you look down, they know you're lying. Be specific but not memorable. Look at your mark but don't stare. I wish I remember how much of it I put in the yearbook, but it was a bit of a multi-liner.
Yeah, I think similar to Richa, I grew up watching them so much. It's one of the first like DVD box sets I remember. Like a friend got it for me for my birthday and I was so excited. Um, and like, yeah, I've just the first one especially I've seen like a million times. But yeah, I feel like I don't know, like I feel like there's like mysteries and heist movies, like if they're really good, they like genuinely surprise you. And I think that like again, like I don't know how it would have like played to me as an adult, but I just remember the first one, like all the pieces clicking together, the reveal not feeling like a cheat, like all of it just being like so satisfying. Like that was like the first time I'd ever seen like a movie like that. Um, and so it just like really stuck with me.
Yeah, I think like Jeremy said, when he offered, us to come on the podcast to talk about oceans, I was like, everything I know about oceans as an adult is like in conversation with Richa. So like I had watched like Oceans 11 probably the most growing up, a little bit of 12. Like I don't think I know 12 or 13 nearly as good as I know 11. Um, but it just was from that era of, I mean, growing up. I think I also brought up my brothers and their effect on my movie taste when we did the Primal Fear pod. But the idea of like Rounders, Matt Damon playing poker, and then Ocean's 11, Matt Damon in a casino, I think was like the coolest thing to my brothers. So I feel like that's why Ocean's 11 was always on in my house, in addition to the like classic cable, always being on cable. But yeah, I do remember, narrowing down high school yearbook quotes with Kim, and like that when we hit that one, we're like, oh, it's perfect because that's exactly what you feel like in high school. It's just like don't let them know, but be glib. Um, yeah, so I wish I could remember what I did for my high school yearbook quote, but that's another story, and that'll be another podcast.
You remember if it was a movie quote?
It probably definitely was. Yeah. That's why I think like it must like we were just probably like listing all our favorite movies and all our favorite movie quotes.
Don't worry, Alex. We'll have you back on for some John Hughes high school movie where we can all dig up our high school yearbooks.
Perfect.
Paco, what's your connection?
What is my connection? I think I watched the first one in high school. I'm pretty sure. I think it was like there's like a brief period of time. I think when I was like between like the ages of like 15 and 16, where my parents were strapping or tightening our belts, and they like canceled the Netflix, like the DVD Netflix, so we didn't have it anymore. And so what I would do is I would go to the Brown Elephant in Andersonville and just like buy a bunch of like VHS tapes. And I think Oceans was one of them, and I watched it a bunch. And then I never watched the sequels because I had heard that the second one like had worse reviews, which is crazy in retrospect. And then I just never got around to the third one because I didn't watch the second one. And then a few years ago, I went back. I think I don't remember why. Maybe it was after I watched Ocean's 8. I thought to myself that I should watch the originals. And I watched 12, and I was like blown away. And then I watched 13, and I didn't like it as much. But this time around, when I watched it the other day, I clicked with it more. What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I have a similar journey to everyone. It's a TNT movie for me, and it's a movie that you can pick it up at any point in the middle and watch it to the end and be satisfied. They are perfect, little vehicles for movie stars, and I think we're all missing that. And I think that it's really hard to be effortless in movies. I think that is one of the hardest things to capture is ease and just like we don't care, we're tossing it off. And these movies have that in spades. And I love that. My grandmother, who passed away very young, one of my last memories of her was going to Las Vegas because she loved to gamble. R.I.P. Barbara, you ruled. She took us to Vegas. We were all in Vegas. And I remember I was probably like 8 or 9 when she passed away. So I was probably 7 when this happened. They make you stand if you're a kid in a casino on a strip in the middle of the aisle. So there's like a kid standing section. And this is not a fancy casino we were at. We were at a non-fancy one. But I remember having to stand there and being like, you're seeing all these colors and lights and flashing bits and baubles, and you just want to run around. You just want to like get your energy out, and they make you just stand there. And I just remember the dead-eyed zombie people who are pulling the lever, and just like waiting for the, And my mom tells this story that I think I've just like co-opted as my own, but it's really her experience, not mine. Of watching a woman win at the what are they called when you're pulling the lever? Slots?
Lots.
Yeah, she watched this woman win the slots, and she had no reaction. She was just like sitting there, and my mom was like, "Oh my god, like you won! Congratulations!" She's like, "I'll just spend it back right here anyway," and that like deeply made me sad. So watching that like real life experience of how depressing casinos are with like a franchise where it's like getting back at the people who run casinos, it's just an enjoyable time.
Do you guys have any real experiences with casinos? I guess outside of that, Jeremy? I feel like I have never been to a casino, but I did have to fly through Vegas semi recently, I guess last year, and it's crazy how like the airport is just filled with slot machines. I did try one and I did lose, but
No, we have gambling problems in my family, so my family has kept us far away from gambling. So that's definitely like, yeah, like we don't touch that.
I feel like I have it in my blood, and I won't get into why. But I have a Chicago related casino story. So Chicagoland area natives and residents will know we have the Rivers Casino in Des Plaines in the Northwest Side, and shout out Hammond, Indiana. They have the White Horse Casino in
Horseshoe?
Oh, Horseshoe. Yeah, it's Horseshoe in like that area of India, like Northwest Indiana. And so my aunt was visiting from Texas, and she's addicted to those little like penny slots, which we call maquinitas in Spanish. And when she comes to Chicago from Texas, she's like, "You guys have to take me to the real casino." So we went to the Horseshoe Casino, and they didn't let me in with my passport. They're like, "This is not valid identification to get into the Horseshoe Casino in Indiana." And I was like, "That's funny. I just traveled internationally and I can do that, but I can't get into this, kind of like not a nice casino." So we had to drive all the way from Indiana to the Northwest Side to go to the Rivers Casino, where they did let me in with my passport. and I probably lost like $50 or
I'm
something.
too afraid to go. I don't think I'll like it, but I'm still scared.
I think like the two experiences I can think of are one, when I was a baby, my family was in Vegas for some reason, I think like visiting someone, but I was like a literal baby in like a baby Bjorn type situation, and my dad was carrying me around, and they wouldn't let him walk on the casino floor with a baby. And so like people just kept coming up to him and being like, "Excuse me, sir, like you can't have a baby in here." And he'd be like, "Oh, okay," and then walk around and then just like come back. Like he was just like, whatever, it's a baby. So that's my Vegas experience that I don't remember. But otherwise, like I don't know, I had been to like a couple casinos like in Southern California, and like not to minimize like gambling addiction, but I did one slot and I was like, this is so not fun. Like I lost all of my like I brought like $30 and I lost all of it. I do think that like playing the games might be more appealing. Like if I really like learned it, played blackjack, like that could be more fun. I feel like I could see like getting really into that. But yeah, I kind of yeah, haven't really enjoyed my experiences.
Oh, sorry. I actually just remembered. I have had like a positive casino experience, but it's because my job, I'm a teacher, and so they'll like really shell out once a year for our like holiday party. And my first year they made like a casino night, like they brought in like people to do the games and stuff. And I was really good at blackjack, and I kept telling the guy, the dealer, like it's a skill, and he found that really funny.
I don't have any like strong memories or connections to casinos. When I was um actually, maybe that's not true. When I was The only time I've been to Vegas was when I was like two, so I or three, so I don't remember it. But my mom told me it was very fun because we went to a magic show. And she said that back then, I think we were talking about this also when we watched the movies, but when uh back then it was a lot cheaper to stay at those, like the Venetian or Caesar's Palace and stuff, because they'd make their money off the gambling. So I think we had stayed at one of those, and we do have a picture on like one of those gondola rides in the Venetian with the fake sky, if that sounds familiar to anyone. And then when I was a kid, I remember going to Reno, and we stayed at this place called, I think it was called Circus Circus, but it had almost like a kids, it wasn't like kids gambling. I think it was more of a, you know, claw machines and like other arcade-like games and stuff that made me feel like, wow, this is a great place, Reno. And uh but yeah, I've been my more adult association is, if you guys have heard of the Guitar Hotel in South Florida, it is new and it is a Hard Rock casino. And if you haven't heard of it, please look up a picture, Guitar Hotel, South Florida. It's unique. And the inside of it, I just remember walking in and being like, wow, this is one of the few indoor places nowadays where you can just smell cigarette smoke. And it's like the 80s in here. So yeah, and I think I lost like $20.
The cigarette smoke reminded me actually at like the place I lost my $30 immediately. It was hilarious because they had smoking and non-smoking sections, but like it was just like a big open room. So there was like no actual separation, and I smelled like smoke like for the rest of the week.
That actually makes me realize I feel like there any smoking in the Ocean's movies?
I think there's the cigar. What's his name?
Oh, Andy
Rude.
Garcia.
Elliot Gould, yeah.
Elliot
Oh,
Gould.
Elliot Gould.
Ruben.
I also have gambling in my family, so I haven't done it. But the one time
Hell yeah.
I did, the one time I sort of did gamble was in college. I went to like a small college in Minnesota, and in our small town there was like a VFW where on, I think, Wednesday nights or Thursday nights they would have bingo. So like my friends and I would go play bingo with all the old people. And it's really addictive. It was only $1 per bingo card, and you'd end up winning a pot of like $40, which is like $1 million when you're in college. But I remember I would always, whenever I would win, I would be too nervous to say bingo because like all the old people would just like stare you down. Like they did not like the fact that like all these like liberal college kids were coming in and stealing their money.
really, really funny. I think that like gambling in general is just sort of like a thing that is just like one of the craziest things that is just accepted as part of our culture. I think the prevalence of sports gambling especially is something we've talked about on this podcast before with 8 Men Out, and with Noah on that episode. That it's just so normalized that it was a thing it rocked the nation with this scandal of cheating, and now it's just something that your brother lost his money doing on his phone. Like it's just like it's a crazy part of our country. And that there was a city of sin in the middle of the desert, in a place where no one should be able to live, where you go to lose your money, is something that to me was very hard to understand as a kid. And so maybe that's why I like these movies, because it's the fantasy of getting away, getting one over on these guys. I've sort of hinted at that, a few times on this episode, but I really do think that these are like the best version of that, that fantasy I mean, they're not Robin Hooding. They're not, I mean, in the third one, they are literally Robin Hooding. They're giving to a charity, which is kind of annoying in some levels. And like kind of reminds me of like the reason why we all turned on George Clooney. But I do feel like the first one especially is just like they're in it for themselves, and like fuck these rich people. And the last one is I like Ocean's 13 quite a bit, but there's like literally a point where you can see money on screen of how much everyone in the hotel is earning. There's like that hyper whatever you call that. And that's like, it's a fantasy. It's what we all wish could happen if we were to enter these spaces, but the reality of these spaces is that they're really depressing.
Yeah. I do think one thing that's funny about the getting one over on these guys thing is that like as the movies go on, they all kind of with their money that they get go into hotels and casinos, like Ruben in the third one, or like, is it like uh they wait, I'm so sorry. I was forgetting what I was gonna say.
Brad Pitt,
Um
right? Rusty?
yes, Brad Pitt has he owns the Standard Hotel. And I was like, that's so funny.
Yeah, that kind of, I feel like the owning of the hotels thing is actually kind of both the gambling and the owning of the hotels, trying to figure out. So we've been, this is part of our series on heist movies, trying to figure out connections between them. Kind of putting your money into from these like illegal things to these somewhat more legit situations. That's something that happens in a lot of these heist movies, especially Thief. And then the sting, so much of, I feel like the Ocean's 13 really reminded me of the Sting, because I feel like the heist is kind of like the same kind of scam. Essentially, you're convincing the owner of the casino slash the mob boss to you convince them that they might actually make a lot of money, and it ends up screwing them over in the end.
Which movie did Eight of Diamonds remind you of? We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Sorry. And if I said that the Eight of Diamonds is better than Ocean's 8, what would you say to that?
I would say I really don't remember Ocean's 8 enough to.
That might make me misogynist, but
Yeah.
I was about to say,
It is a little bit. I mean, especially if you watch Eight of Diamonds, which unfortunately we had some communication and sending errors to you guys. A deeply misogynistic movie, but a really weird one. And it's very Chicago. Like it's Chicago in a way where it's like someone's uncle made a movie. You know what I mean? It's exactly what you're thinking. Like and there's like the Chicago cabs and everything. Like it's so clearly a bunch of favors that people did for each other. It's bizarre. I had a bad experience with Gary Ross, who is the director of Ocean's 8, which I could air out on this podcast, but I don't have to.
Would it
Let's
affect
do
your
it.
career?
I mean, what movie would I have Gary Ross here for? Should I say the story and then you guys tell me if it's okay worth cutting out? So the movie that Gary Ross, director of Ocean's 8, and I think producer of these movies. No, I think he's on. Is he at all involved with the Ocean's franchise? No. Okay, even better. He directed Pleasantville, and they played Pleasantville at a little festival I used to work at called Ebert Fest in Champaign, Illinois. And he was the guest of honor because Roger Ebert loved that movie. And they brought him out, and he did a whole Q&A, and we watched that movie, and I watched it next to Caitlin. I don't know if you guys know Caitlin, my partner. And we watched the whole movie. We liked the movie. It's pretty solid. But it's a movie where they take 1950s politics, and they're talking about race relations in the US, and they relate it to whether or not there's color in the scene or black and white in the scene, right? That's the sort of metaphor. And Caitlin was like sitting next to me, and she was like, someone better ask him about race. Like, someone better ask him about why there's no black people in this movie. And no one did. And she was like, that's fine. And afterwards, we were like, we're working. So we're like, we have like the headsets on and everything. And she's like, should I ask him? Should I ask him? Should I ask him? And we missed our chance, and we left. And we were walking out the back, and we ended up walking right by him. And I was like, just do it. And she went up to him, and she's like, Mr. Ross, like, we love the movie. It's really interesting. I just had a quick question for you. This is a movie that's very clearly talking about race in the country. What was your decision to use white actors to represent that? And he went off on us, and he was like, I wasn't thinking about that at all. And I've worked with so many black actresses. And he was so defensive, and she was so nice. Like, she asked it in a completely kind, normal way. And he was like talking about how he's worked with Rihanna and like all these things where I was like, dude, you're so weird. Like, you're so weird. Like, you were so clearly unprepared for this question, or too prepared for this question, in some ways. And that's my only memory of that moment, and just being like, and then you know what? He didn't say Rihanna, I think, because I don't think Ocean's 8 had come out yet at that point. And then we went to go see Ocean's 8, and we didn't realize that he directed it, and his name came up at the end, and we laughed really hard. Anyway, that's my Ocean's 8 story, and we can decide to leave it in or cut it out.
I think, you know what, air out Gary Ross. It seemed like he thought that he got away with it, you know? Like, he was like, he got away from this, like, you know, Q&A, and like, no matter how you brought it up, he would have just been like, damn, they got me.
What year was this? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
All I said was shout out Eberfest.
Yeah, you ILL, baby. This was 2016 or 17.
I wonder if he was like, just like, I feel like every like older white guy around that time was like so nervous about like getting like called out at that moment. So I wonder if he thought like something like was happening to him, you know?
It was a private that was the thing. I think his answer on stage would have been very different and measured.
Mm-hmm.
And he acted like he was being cornered, and it was weird, and he was weird, and we were like, anyway, I might suggest to cut that out, but mostly because it's not.
Ross, come on the pod.
Yeah.
Come on the
Defend
podcast.
yourself, Gary.
Let's work it out. Let's go through his filmography. Let's find the Chicago connection.
Oh my God. If he made a Chicago movie, I will actually kind of lose it. I brought up the fact that we were doing this episode, and Caitlin's like, why didn't I get the invite? And by the way, we've invited her many times to the podcast. And I was like, there's 5 guests on the episode. We have 4 other people on the episode already. Like, we don't need a 5th person. We've never had this amount. I guess so.
If you had 11 people.
So I guess this is when we invite Caitlin.
Yeah.
Who's secretly been running Andy Garcia style.
I do not think he has any Chicago connections, unfortunately.
I'm sorry, but it's fuck Gary Ross.
He did write, the last movie he worked on was this 2025 movie called Desert Warrior, which is the most expensive film to be produced in Saudi Arabia, starring Anthony Mackie as Hanzala, who's some kind of desert warrior.
We're in a thriving culture.
About recording on Zoom is how hard we're laughing at things, and that the audience doesn't get to hear how hard we're laughing.
We're all muting.
Yeah.
Just imagine gales of laughter.
Should I put some fake laughters in there?
100%. I do want to ask you guys, because I've come up with a few myself, and I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. But I'm imagining they're making an Ocean's 14 right now, and fuck that Gary, that Gary. Wow, oh my god, I'm so angry at him. I need to relax. I need to go to therapy. Fuck that Ryan Gosling version. I hope that never happens. I'm sorry. I like Ryan Gosling, and I think that version sounds really dumb. Doing like a sequel-y whatever version of it. I just want them to do another one with Steven Soderbergh. But my pitch to you guys, so we can start writing and working on it, is what is the Chicago pitch here? What are they heisting in Chicago? What is the Chicago connection? Or what would your Ocean's 14 look like? If you do not have one prepared, if you need to think about it, that could be something we return to.
Off the top of my head, let's steal the Tiffany Dome from the Chicago Cultural Center. That's we'll start with that, and then we'll workshop it for 2 or 3 hours.
Who's the 14th member? Is it Joan Cusack? Like, who do we got? Who are our Chicago guys?
Keke Palmer.
Great answer. Great answer.
I could not think of one actor from Chicago. There was literally a gun to my head. I was Keke Palmer.
No, Keke. That's a really good answer. And I mean, there's some holes. Unfortunately, we've had a few of the actors involved pass away. Carl Reiner, Bernie Mac, the legend. Is Keke Palmer? You know, the kind of lame version is Keke Palmer's playing Bernie Mac's daughter. That's what they would do. And maybe it's not a bad idea. I like sort of family connections. I think that's very Chicago. But that I like that a lot. I like stealing like an artifact of the city or something like that. I mean, my pitch is that we're stealing the sports book at Wrigley Field. Like, we're robbing the sports book at Wrigley Field. But any other pitches here?
The DraftKings.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like a nice like gambling today kind of tie-in.
Yeah, and it's the Ricketts family are the villains, or we could call them something else. But
I was like trying to think of. I went to St. Ignatius, which is like a very bougie Catholic high school, and I was trying to think of the richest person in my graduating class, and I was like, we're robbing their Lincoln Park house.
We're robbing a Pritzker.
Maybe I shouldn't say this on the podcast, but no, who cares? But the principal of my school is JB Pritzker's niece, and she doesn't want anyone to know. Isn't that crazy?
Secret Pritzker?
Secret Pritzker.
Wow.
And we mysteriously were bought a building, and trust, the rumors are swirling.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I also have a Pritzker story that I can't tell on the podcast. Remind me when we're done, and I'll tell you guys an embarrassing Pritzker story.
I was just gonna say I can't think of like a specific place to rob necessarily, but to commit destruction in Trump Tower, really.
Ooh.
Or just fully rob it. I don't know. Yeah.
That's good. You could get that funded. Like, if our pitch was robbing Trump Tower, like someone would give you money to do that. My other pitch, which is much more conceptual and probably that would never happen, is that it's a bunch of Chicago kids, right? They're children, and they're robbing one of the Wisconsin Dells hotels. So it's Oceans, but you're kids. So it's not as big stakes, but when you're a kid, everything feels like it's the biggest deal in the world. And there's the gambling aspect are the arcades. That's what gambling is for kids. And I feel like so many Chicago kids have a memory of going to Wisconsin Dells. So that's my other pitch.
So are they all 11? Like, it's Ocean's 11.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
It's like how in the 90s they had all like the baby versions, like Baby Muppets.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's a fully fantasy animated. Yeah. These are the Rugrats. It's the Rugrats, and they're doing an Oceans at Wisconsin Dells.
I guess we haven't really gotten into the plot of these movies, but it doesn't really matter. Everyone knows the plot. I do want to talk about 12 a little bit, but before that, I'm curious if you guys had any like thoughts? Like who's your favorite of like the heisters of the crew?
Well, you know what? I think an interesting way to answer this was, we were talking about a little bit about misogyny earlier, and you just really want to shout out Paco and Jeremy for having four women on the podcast to talk about Ocean's 11, 12, and 13. We watched it all together last week, and a conversation we had was, who did you always think was the hottest one? And I was like, I think I had the most controversial one. I said Casey Affleck. I like Virgil, and the mustache he has in the second one does not deter me. And I like when he, foments like a small like union uprising in Mexico. I think he was
Unbelievable.
doing that,
So good.
to get to my culture. But yeah, I would just is Virgil my favorite? No, I guess maybe I don't know, Rusty or Danny. They're like the obvious answers, but who do I think's the hottest? Virgil. And I would like everyone else to go around and do that as well.
I'm gonna be really brave and say that my favorite is Linus, but my the hottest one is Rusty, of course.
I think I have like the same answer. I also like Richa mentioned earlier, like I was really into the Bourne movies, which were coming out at the same time. I loved Matt Damon. Not necessarily that he was the hottest, but like that was the big draw to me. But like looking back, I'm like, that's the best Brad Pitt has ever looked. I love the buzz cut in Note 12 too.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, Rusty has got it going on in this movie. Like 2001, early 2000s was really peak Brad Pitt, and the outfits. I kind of loved the outfits and the constant eating, of course. But also, similarly to Carmel, I've been watching a lot of ER lately, and the George Clooney. I mean, I've always loved George Clooney, probably because of Oceans, but he's just really been on the mind. So I think he might just be my favorite. I don't know, but Rusty is hot. Yeah.
I think like George Clooney's also one of those where like I liked him because he was the main character when I was a kid watching these, but I think now also thanks to ER and like everything, I'm like he's so handsome. Controversial take.
No, I think uncontroversial, uncontroversial. But also I do love Ruben. I feel like he's just a fan favorite, but Ruben has his whole look at like his dialogue, everything. Yeah, he's definitely a crowd pleaser.
That was like something that when we were talking about who we like in the movie, I was like, if it were like Elliot Gould at his peak, that would clearly be number one. He's still hilarious. Like I love Ruben so much, but yeah.
Yeah, Elliot Gould is unbelievable. He is throwing 100 miles per hour in these movies. And I would say like, you know, the power of these movies is how well it all works together, and how each individual character might not hold up for you. Like Don Cheadle's character, I think, is like the epitome of that. Of like, we love Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle rules. His character, you have to like be like, whoa, like this is way too much per scene. And not the hottest Don Cheadle's ever been. That there's some hotter Don Cheadle movies. But I love the way that they interact. I love the way that each character has their moment to shine in some form or fashion. And like there's just like Eddie Jemison, who's Eddie. I'm not a big fan of Eddie Jemison. I don't know who that guy is in other movies, but he's so funny and good in these. He plays Dell. He plays Livingston, the tech guy, and he's just in once a movie he makes me laugh out loud. And then the Casey Affleck, Scott Conn, Virgil Turk stuff is so funny. It's so funny in every movie. Their chemistry is really something else. I think that the hottest is Bernie Mac. Like I think Bernie Mac has got it just made in the sun. He's just like effortless, cool. I love him.
I knew Jeremy was going to come in with a good hot take on
Yeah.
who's the hottest.
Yeah,
I was
funny.
trying to guess who it would be. Thank you, Jeremy.
Because originally I was gonna say that the hottest was Elliot Gould, but I just don't. I think hottest who's ever lived is Elliot Gould, but not in the Oceans movies. Um, Julia Roberts is a formative crush of mine in these movies as well. I got to shout out Julia.
One thing about Del, I hope I'm not misremembering, but I think he does have my favorite line. And he says it to Linus. Linus is like, shouldn't we feel bad about this or something like that? And then he goes, and they don't even like show his face. It's just like a line that you hear in the background. He's like, are you hosting a telethon we don't know about or something? It's so funny.
Yeah, we were all cracking up at that in Ocean's 12. The other thing I was going to say also, since if we're mentioning Julia Roberts in the non-Oceans, Andy Garcia looks very good. And we were talking about how they're trying to make him, like, compared to George Clooney, maybe less hot or something, but it just doesn't really work. He's just so handsome.
His cane in 12 is so funny.
And the like red glove.
The glasses. He
Yeah.
had like red little
Super
round
villain.
glasses.
This is our second time talking about Andy Garcia because we talked about him in The Untouchables. And we are talking about how he's quite attractive and kind of like scary. He's scary in a lot of movies, but like I think he finds the humor in being a villain of the ocean really effortlessly. Like I think you can't take it too seriously. If you're going to be the big bad, and we find that in 11, 12, and 13. So I mean, is Vincent Cassell an answer for hottest? No, everyone's shaking their head.
For some people. For some people.
For some,
Way too French.
Yeah.
way too much breakdancing.
That part's okay. Too much French.
I think that's fair. I want to talk to you guys very badly about the celebrity poker game at the beginning of 11. That was huge. When I was watching it, I was like, oh my god, this is like trivia girl. Like if you were asking a question at Music Box Trivia and you had to name all of the celebrities at the celebrity roundtable. So I just want to talk about that scene for a little bit to set it up for everybody. At the beginning of Ocean's 11, the movie we are talking about, the series we are talking about, Danny Ocean gets out of prison and he starts going around rounding up each of the members of the crew, of the Ocean's 11 crew. And the first person he goes to get is Rusty, played by Brad Pitt, who is now taking a job training celebrities on their poker game, right? Being a coach. And they're pretty awful. And the celebrities we fall upon are pretty funny. We have Topher Grace, Joshua Jackson, Shane West, which I thought was really funny. And I didn't recognize Barry Watson. I don't know. Seventh Heaven's not my bag. And then Holly Marie Combs. So it's just like a gaggle of 90s celebrities. But what did you guys think about this scene?
We did have this discussion and we were trying to identify I think specifically Barry Watson, because we're like, he looks like such a genre of guy in 2000, 2001. But I feel like Topher Grace was the only one I knew. And then Shane West, like from all the like 2000s, like high school movies, but like I did not know who the other three people were. But Barry Watson was, I guess, in a later season of Gossip Girl, we found in our research.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, that's maybe why we know him, but also it's like so minor.
But no Joshua Jackson?
I didn't know. I think Carmel or Reach, someone knew him from Dawson's, but I just did not. Yeah.
No
I just
fringe
kept saying
heads.
that's Pacey, but I couldn't think of like anything else.
We got no fringe heads on the pod today. And you know what? That's fine.
Yeah, I think I knew Joshua Jackson's name from Oceans, like from at one point looking up like the cast of the people there. But I know Holly Marie Combs from Pretty Little Liars because she's one of the moms, I think Arya's mom. And then Shane West, A Walk to Remember. And then Topher Grace, I thought it was really funny that he came back in Ocean's 12, which I know that's not what we're talking about right now, but
Can we write
that
down what
was great.
his T-shirt said. Did we write that down? What his T-shirt said, and we all wanted
Your
Topher Grace's T-shirt in the 12th one.
It
Or
was
the
your
12th.
boyfriend wants me.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Great shirt.
It reminded me a lot of Molly's Game, of that celebrity game, that celebrity culture, and like these high stakes poker, and we talked about poker at some other point, Paco. Why did we talk about poker? Oh, what's her name in Chucky?
Oh,
what's her name
Jennifer
from the Chucky
Tilly.
franchise? Jennifer Tilly's like a professional poker player now. That's
Yeah.
like her big thing. But yeah, I think Topher Grace is really good in these movies, and maybe the most I've ever liked Topher Grace is playing an asshole version of himself. He has an excellent Kabbalah joke in Ocean's 12 as a kid who was raised adjacent to Kabbalah. It was pretty. He says it's almost like this Kabbalah shit doesn't work. So fucking funny. Holy shit. That celebrity 2000s like Madonna adjacent Kabbalah as a fad thing is really funny to me. I think that sort of culminates. Does anyone else have takes on the poker game? Because I'm going to move on.
I think it's just, I love that. I love to see who people thought were going to be like up and comers in like certain eras, you know? Like I love that, like I mean, I watched, I was really into Dawson's Creek a few years ago, so I immediately recognized Josh Jackson, but like I wouldn't have been able to when I initially watched it in high school. And I feel like last year my wife and I were watching the Larry Sanders Show, which has like a lot of like, it's a show about a fake celebrity talk show. And so there's always like all these famous people who like were huge in the 90s who I've like never heard of before. And I feel like it's like a similar situation where it's like, I love when movies will do that like kind of meta thing where actors play themselves. But in these situations where it's like, if you were like someone who's like 20 now watching Ocean's 11, would you have any idea who any of those people are? Because like none of them really have any any like lasting popularity, you know? I mean, like obviously like Topher Grace was like, I guess he was like huge in 2001 because of that 70s show, but
Yeah.
like beyond after like 5 years, like was he, I guess Spider-Man 3 was 2007.
Yeah, the run of the Oceans movie, he's famous.
Yeah. And I think he was going to be in Ocean's 13, but he was filming reshoots for Spider-Man 3. So he couldn't.
Fuck. I was wondering why he wasn't in it.
Yeah.
I'm not rewatching. I'm watching for the first time all of the adaptations of Nicholas Sparks. In the run up to M. Night Shyamalan's next movie, which is a book he wrote with M. Night and Nicholas Sparks wrote together called Remain. I'm reading the book. I'm rewatching all of M. Night's movies, and I'm watching all the Nicholas Sparks adaptations for the first time. And I have the Notebook that I'm going to watch tonight, so I'm really excited to dive into that. To jump into the open arms. I said fuck Ryan Gosling already on this podcast. Everyone's laughing. I want that to be clear.
I'm not laughing.
Alex
Don't
Stoneface.
say
Alex
don't say
Stoneface.
fuck Ryan Gosling on my podcast, Jeremy.
I appreciate Ryan Gosling. So Shane West, who's one of these guys, is the Walk to Remember guy. And I had just watched that movie for the first time a few weeks ago. If I had watched it as a kid, it was like it didn't mean anything to me. So that really like hit like a bag of bricks when I was like, it's the Walk to Remember guy. But otherwise, I think that the celebrity thing is so funny in the first one, and it culminates in the second one by having Julia Roberts' character Tess play herself. I think it's really, really daring and bizarre, and I think it was like part of the reason why people didn't like that movie. But let's discuss. I love it so much, but if that didn't work for you guys, we need to air it out now.
I think it's so playful. It's pushing the like celeb thing to the extreme, which has always been like the strength of these movies, but I think like to the point of like absurdity in that part. I like it.
I agree. I think it's really funny. And the second movie to me is more like less plot, more vibes. And it's just truly just a very silly, fun movie. So I think they capitalized on that. And bringing Bruce Willis into it just made it like we were laughing so hard, which I don't know. I think it just works really well.
Bruce
Good
is such a
gimmick.
good comedic actor.
Mm-hmm.
He started off in TV. He started off being a comedic actor. He's excellent every time he's asked to do comedy. I think Bruce is great. Not Moonstruck. Oh my god. Death Becomes Her. He's so funny in that. He's funny in Fifth Element. I think he's a funny guy. Are there any Julia Roberts haters? I feel like she's one of the most hated celebrities in pop culture. Like I think like people turned on her in a nasty way. People turned on her in a Jude Law way. People turned on her in like a Jennifer, what's her name? Oh my god, Hunger Games way. Yeah,
Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence way. Um and I think that's wrong. And I think we need to atone because she's so charismatic and so funny.
That's always been something so fascinating to me because, like, I almost think of it as a generational thing. Like, I feel like my parents don't really like her, and like other like family members, sort of like that lived through an era maybe where it was just like, I don't know if it was overexposure or just like, I don't know, the culture turning on her, but like my entire life I've been like, she's so beautiful, she's so funny. Like, I've never understood the hate that I feel like I've heard about a lot.
I agree. I think it must be generational because I love that bitch. And I heard like from one of our friends maybe that he like didn't like her or like had some negative opinion. And I think I was shocked. I was like, I've never heard someone say something negative about her before. So it was shocking to hear.
Yeah, I love her so much. Like Julia Roberts, get behind me. She is perfect and so perfect in these movies. She just has the most beautiful smile I've ever seen. And I think my mom does like her, and maybe that's because she moved here in the 90s and that was like when she was watching American movies. And obviously that coincides with Julia Roberts. But it also might be biased because Julia Roberts is apparently Hindu. Like she like converted to Hinduism, which might have been after Eat, Pray, Love, but that's okay. That's okay. So my mom really likes her. That might be part of why. But yeah, I didn't actually know that there was a lot of Julia Roberts hate in I don't know. Does anyone like know where that came from or started or when?
I think it's the tabloids. I think she was seen as being like she was a tryhard. Like she really wanted to win the Oscar. Like she was like I think there was a famous cheating scandal. I think with Jude Law too. There was the maid or whatever. He has like 8 kids by 9 different women or whatever.
I think like I also remember, I mean, she was engaged to Kiefer Sutherland and
That's what
broke
it was.
up last minute and left
That's what it
like
was. Sorry.
him. Yeah. And then I also there was like another she was horrible on the set of Hook. According like she was the Tinker Hell was what they called her on the set of Steven Spielberg's Hook.
Good. Sorry. My bad.
No, yeah, that's it. I just like those are the ones that stand out to me of like things where I'm like, yeah, I guess I could see like being like, is she maybe not that nice of a person? But
Yeah, I think she was labeled as difficult, but I think like people have pushed back against that and said that she was outspoken and said that she was, firm in her takes. And I mean, Mystic Pizza believer and my best friend's wedding we talked about on this podcast is deeply important to me. Um and I don't know. She just seems like one of those people that like we look back on and we're like, why did we ever hate her? And none of us did clearly. So it's not us. It's generational. It's the older generations. It's they. But I also think that like when we were kids, she wasn't as in the spotlight. Like she was. Eat, Pray, Love was the biggest thing of our childhood with her, right? So I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. Is there something else that I'm not thinking of?
Being related to Emma Roberts is how my generation knows Julia
Yeah.
Roberts. Just
You're
kidding.
not wrong though, kind
Yeah.
of. Emma Roberts was a bigger star in our childhood.
When did Aaron Brockovich come out? Was that 2005 or
2000.
90s?
2000.
2000. Okay. Yeah, then I don't know. I'm trying to think of any other 2000s movies besides Eat, Pray, Love that she was in notably. drawing a blank.
Oh, she's in. Have you guys seen? It's like Demented. Closer, by directed by Mike Nichols, starring Julia Roberts, Jude Law, Natalie Portman, and Clive Owen.
I
That-
have seen that.
That movie's awesome. It's like insane. It's like made up by a madman. It's really good. I would highly recommend it.
Can I be so honest? That movie is the reason I hate Clive Owen. I hate that movie so much. It was like I saw that and then I saw Croupier and I was like, give me a break. Like this guy is
Yeah, it's fair. But yeah, I'm
He
looking.
sort of disappeared too. Where's Clive Owen?
Yeah, I don't know. He's probably doing commercials, like really,
Right.
really
He's still-
fancy
he's-
commercials.
He's still just hunting down Will Smith in Gemini Man.
Forgot he's in that. Yeah, I'm looking at her career in the 2000s. It's kind of a flop. I don't know. She was in The Ant Bully. She was Charlotte in Charlotte's Web.
She's really good in that show Homecoming on Amazon, a streaming service no one has. But she's then in that same guy made a movie that's like one of my least favorite movies that I've ever seen, which was the Netflix
Oh God.
Obama one.
Yeah, Leave the World Behind. That movie.
Leave the World Behind. That movie stinks. But I'm pro Julia Roberts. I didn't see after the Hunt, the Luca Guadagnino. Did you guys see that?
I saw it. I'm gonna be brave. I liked it.
Hell yeah. All right, good. I wasn't getting a feel for what the vibe in the room was. Yeah. Well,
I was just gonna say I forgot that I have seen Leave the World Behind, and I forgot Julia Roberts is in that. The book, I like the book a little bit more than the movie, but yeah, a lot of random. I didn't know she was in a TV show also.
But I'm curious, has anyone seen Ticket to Paradise? Because I feel like that was like talked about as being like the big like return.
I have. I forgot I was gonna bring that up. I am still like riding on the high of Julia Roberts, George Clooney. And I can make my comparison, my personal comparison later.
Have you
But
seen it?
when we talk more about like oceans. But I did watch Ticket to Paradise because of that. It is not good, but I think it's oh my God, who is Miranda Cosgrove in that? Or something funny. They're one of them, it's like their kid is marrying someone that they don't approve of and they're divorced and then they kind of reconcile through that. But I feel like their daughter is someone funny. I'm trying to remember. But bad movie, but their chemistry just it lives on. I don't know. There's nothing quite like it.
It seems like the daughter is Caitlin Denver, which is pretty funny.
Okay, yes, from Booksmart. Like I'm thinking of another movie with actually Andy Garcia that Miranda Cosgrove is in.
I feel like I didn't end up seeing Ticket to Paradise, but I do feel like it was kind of like heralded before it came out. It was like gonna be like this big savior for cinema because we were finally having like two movie stars come back together, and then it kind of just it didn't really go anywhere.
This movie did not cross my desk. I did not hear of Ticket to Paradise. I mean, maybe in whatever 2022 when it came out, but I'm looking at it and I was like, I don't remember anything about this.
I don't think it was straight to streaming, but there's a chance it was mostly I don't know, was it a theatrical release?
It was.
I'm seeing, yeah.
I think
It says only in theaters, October 21st.
I think it was like 2022, so like movie going was still kind of like struggling from the pandemic, and I think like people like I think studios thought like okay, like we're finally gonna have like a big like huge romantic comedy box office hit, and it didn't. I think it was still like it did relatively well, it seems, but it clearly didn't enter the cultural sphere like they wanted it to. And
Yeah, I was trying to remember if Destination Wedding, the Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, like reunion, like similar idea, I think, but that was like way earlier than I would have. I thought that was like 2021. It came out in 2018.
Yeah,
I feel like
that
it's a
one
similar
also, I think,
concept.
was sort of like I don't know. I remember that one really flopping, and also kind of because it really is kind of like dark and not very funny was what I heard about it. So it wasn't really like a true rom-com.
that's like one of the most hard to watch movies, I would say. Jeremy, while you were gone, we all did a BuzzFeed quiz about which Ocean's 11.
Which character you are? Did you share it in the
Yeah.
chat?
It's in the chat.
Okay. I'm gonna work on this while you guys keep talking. Sorry.
Where should we pick up from where, I guess?
What if we each talk about who we got on the quiz and whether or not we think that's like fair or not, and who we think we actually would be, or who we would want to be, and while Jeremy does the quiz.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
I got Saul, which I think that maybe makes sense. I kind of feel like I would turn to crime in my older years. And he's, I feel like I don't like him necessarily, but I would kind of want some pickpocket skills. Like, I think I would kind of want to be like have like the Linus sort of ability, like his powers, you know? I think it'd be good to have.
I got Basher in the BuzzFeed quiz, and I guess I relate to that in some ways. Jeremy, while you stepped away for a second, we were all talking about how much we like Basher because you had brought him up earlier. But I think if it came down to what skill could I do, I would probably have to be Frank. I think I'd be good at like getting information and like being in a situation and like, being the inside man. But I think it'd be really cool to be like Rusty or Danny, where you're like charismatic and like can be a leader. Like that'd be fun.
I took it and I got Danny, which I don't even really fully agree with. I would like to be Danny. I was saying that I feel like I'm more of a Livingston, a little nervous, but I like technical things too. Like I feel like Basher and Livingston are cool because they're doing the sciencey stuff, the technology stuff, which is fun. I was also joking about how my brother and I are we could be Scott Conn and Casey Affleck for sure.
I just want to interject real fast. I think you do. Danny's a lover, and you're a lover too, Richa.
This is true.
I see both aspects. A woman is Sam, but she's also a lover. So that's you and Danny. You have that in common.
I got Yen, who I do feel like, I don't know. I think that's kind of like he's an underdeveloped member of the crew for sure. I don't know if you guys have any Yen takes. But I feel like they kind of are just like he can do any gymnastics, like, and that's kind of where it ends. I don't know if I relate to that. But yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
I love that he's low-key like a playboy in the second one. Like I like that he's like they make him like kind of a goofball for the rest of the franchise. Like he's so serious in the first one. I also really like goofy ass Cirque du Soleil like bullshit, and I like that they pitch it as like that's a job for him. You know what I mean? Like Vegas magic, close up magic, or Cirque du Soleil or stuff like that. Like, and then I like how in the second and third one he's just a massive chiller. It's like if he doesn't have the weight of like the economic weight of like I have to earn my living, he's not like doing other gymnastic-y things. He's just really good at that. And it turns out he just likes like jumping on beds and like being a goofball.
Wait, that is so true. I don't think he does any gymnastics in the second and third movie. He's just there to hang. I guess I do relate to that. Yeah.
I got Basher. So it's interesting that I was bashing him a bit earlier. What does that say about me? I also chose, like where it says like choose your least favorite character. I did choose Basher on that. So I wonder if you choose Basher. And that makes me sound
I chose
like
Linus.
You chose Linus. Yeah.
And I also got Basher. So I feel like Basher probably doesn't like Linus either.
I think that's fair. I think there's no bad Ocean's character, so it's like it was hard for me to pick there. And I'm such a big fan of Don Cheadle. So being Don Cheadle is fine. I just think that the British accent thing is like really tough. It's really tough. And
Say more
it's
about this, Jeremy, because we all
yeah.
thought we couldn't tell the difference.
We were like, I guess
Are
that
you
means
an
sound
are
like
you an
this.
Anglophile?
Not at all. I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe it was really good.
No, I don't think it actually is, like, if you asked a British person, but to us, we're just like, yeah, that's just what British people
But
sound like.
nor am I like a stickler for that sort of thing. So I wonder why it gets under my skin. Because it's like
Yeah.
literally just because I like Don Cheadle's voice, I think. Like his regular speaking voice. Like he's so fucking good in the Paul Thomas Anderson movies. And I love that you know, and the other Soderberghs. I like the other his other performances. So maybe it's just that I think that they sideline him in the second one because of the accent. Because I think people roasted the accent in the first one so much. I think when it came out. And so he like doesn't say a word in the second one. He's like barely talking.
Someone, I think, said when we were watching it, like, maybe he wanted to come back with a different accent, and they said no.
Yeah, I think I heard that on the Bill Simmons Rewatchables Oceans podcast. I think it was on there, but I had heard on there that Don Cheadle had asked Soderbergh if he could drop the accent in the second movie, and they said no. So, however true that may be, we can look into that later.
I got Frank, and then I always take every BuzzFeed quiz twice, and I took it again and I got Frank. And I feel like I answered completely differently. But I don't know. I'm happy to accept it. I think he's like a little too cool for me, like in an effortless way. But maybe that's the Chicago about him, and maybe I have that too. I just need to channel it. So I'm happy to call myself the Frank.
Yeah, I like that we have a Frank in our crew right now. You know what I mean? So I feel I feel deeply that we need like we have too many bashers right now. You know what I mean? Like I want to take it again because I want us all to be a different member of the crew. I do feel like, and this is not me, like I'm somewhere between a Linus, a who's the tech guy?
Livingston?
Livingston, and a Danny. I'm not cool enough to be Danny, so I'm not Danny, but I have that sort of leadership sort of like thing, but I'm not cool like George Clooney, so I don't want to say that. So I'm nervous like Livingston. I'm a little bit of a try hard like Linus, and I'm Danny in my where I position myself amongst my friend group.
You have all these plans, and you're the one who's like getting everyone together, but then like the other people have to like do it.
That felt personal, and we will talk about that later. Paco's known me since high school, I will say.
Wait, I just did that. I took it again, and I got Ruben this time, and I kind of like that better. I like the idea of being the bankroller who just like has a nice place with a pool.
Ruben's awesome. Did you guys talk about Carl Reiner at all? Because he's kind of awesome in these movies. I have no, as a Jewish person, have zero relationship to Carl Reiner, and I wonder what that is, what this says about my family. That we didn't have any, like that wasn't something I grew up with at all. But I don't know if you guys have different Reiner takes.
None.
I think he's just really lovable in the movie as Saul. I don't know him really in anything else. I probably do and can't think of any other things, but I do like Saul's character a lot. He has a lot of heart. Like he brings a lot of heart to the movies.
I really love the accents and like the characters that he does. It's so funny. Like the in the first one, what even accent is that? It's like Eastern European Russian or something like that. And it always makes me laugh.
I love the wigs. The wigs, especially in the third one, when you see him peel off the wig from the top. So funny.
I like when he's not when he's introduced, but like when he shows up in 13 as like the British guy, I didn't recognize him at first. I was like who is this guy? I didn't, maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough, but it was kind of, I thought that worked really well. But I like just having an old guy on the team. I guess they have two old guys, but Carl Reiner's I feel like probably like 20 years older than Elliot Gould.
Is there any other member of the team that we just have left off? Just in terms of like the regular crew, because I mean, there's Eddie Izzard. There's some other like people who come and go from the crew, who are quite fun.
I like that guy who pretends to beat up George Clooney, and I think he's in all three of them. I forgot his name. It's
It's
not Basher,
something.
but
It's like beater or something. Like it's like
yes,
sounds like Basher.
I think it's like Bruiser.
Oh, Bruiser. Yeah.
Yes. I like his head tattoo.
I like that he's a cutie patootie, that he's a sweetheart. I love when a big guy is really like sweet and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, boss." Like I love that because I'm a Looney Tunes ass motherfucker. So I like when someone is like a big imposing guy and he's a sweetheart. And that's what the first movie plays on that. And so much of Soderbergh's sensibilities feel a bit loony.
I think like with the brothers, the Casey Affleck and Scott Conn, I was like I feel like the whole thing is like they're Mormon also, and like I actually knew some Mormons growing up, and I feel like they were so culturally different than what is depicted here, and I'm like maybe I just don't know Salt Lake Mormons culture that well. I don't know if anyone has insight.
Again, I think it's the Soderbergh thing of being like, it would be funny to say they're Mormon. They don't act Mormon. We're not going to try to make them Mormon. It's just funny to say that Affleck and Khan are Mormon, and then they just ran with that. I think Soderbergh's so good at being like, this is exactly what this celebrity archetype is like. So I'm going to play off that. Like, it's so funny to have Rusty knock on the door and Danny's crying and it's revealed to be because of Oprah. Like, that is just funny. Like, and then to have George Clooney actually sell that and be like, it's because of it's not just because of the money. Like whatever line he has.
I feel like we should talk a bit about 12, like specifically because it's so different, I guess, than the other two. And I think like that's part of why I think it had more of a negative reaction. But I feel like that's my favorite of all of them. And I think it's just because it's like, it takes like just the bare bones of what you expect from a heist movie, which is just like, here's like a crew of people and they're like gonna commit a heist. But like none of it makes sense. And it's just like, it's mostly, I think someone brought up, like, it's just mostly about vibes. Like, it's mostly just about like watching them like hang out and like chill out. And like the heists like don't really make any sense, but you're still like super compelled by them. And then like the camera work and like the actual, like the way that it looks is like incredible. But something really funny that I noticed was there's a scene, I think when they're in Amsterdam and they're all like talking, and I think it's all on handheld, maybe digital. And at some point you can like see a camera person in the background. And then I realized that the camera person is Yen. And for some reason he's like wearing a bucket hat and like has a camera and it's never explained. But like I love like that aspect of it.
I had that same reaction, Paco, and I really want that to be my Twitter Avi. If I still like really was active on Twitter, just like Yen with the camera and his like, I don't know, dripped out outfit, tracksuit.
Is this when they're on the train platform or something?
No, they're in a hotel room.
Do you remember what part of the movie? I need to like go back now.
I think
they're planning in a hotel room in 12 and they're going around, and then like, yeah, you see him in the background, and then there's like a maybe 5 frames of him like we'll dig it up and we'll post it when we do the episode.
Nice.
But yeah, like how did you when you guys watched this like growing up, or like did you like did you react differently to the second one compared to the first one? Like was there that kind of the friction that it seems like a lot of critics had at the time?
Yeah, I think also like when I was first introduced to these movies, like the first one is, it plays with timeline a little bit, but like pretty much is straightforward. And I feel like the second one does so much like flash forward, flash back, here's what actually was happening, like all this stuff that I do remember being like I had no conception of like what actually was happening. Like I think I still liked it because it was funny and like the movie star of it all, but like I watched it as an adult after a really long time and I was like, "Oh, this is the plot?" Like had no recollection.
All the characters talk in code like the whole time. It's very confusing on purpose. There's a lot of like you enter scenes and characters are saying lines for jokes you didn't hear the setup for. It's very like cute on purpose. And those are all things that I think are features, not bugs, but they are hard to watch the first time. Like, and if you're used to watching Ocean's 11, the amount of times that I did, I definitely watched 12 the least when I was young. And I still go 11, 12, 13 in terms of my rankings, but I deeply love 11 and 12. And I like 13 a lot. So it's not, for me, Ocean's 13 just came out at a time that I think I was very anti-sequel. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Ocean's 13 came out the same summer that all the movies had their third movie coming out. There was like Shrek Part 3, Pirates of the Caribbean 3,
Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3. It was like all these third movies that like really I was like anti-sequel. And I was like, everyone I think in culture was getting a little sick of sequels. And so I don't think I saw this movie until a little later. 13 until a little later. And I like it, but like 12 was definitely the one where I think you can forgive if it's on TV, not understanding the plot, because you could just assume that you missed something when you looked away or flipped away from the channel. So like, again, the vibes are so good that it doesn't matter. I something that I want to bring up with you guys, and maybe I should wait off on this, is like, do you guys like that they're basically sci-fi movies at points with like the technology shit? Because like sometimes that annoys me, and I couldn't tell this time if I liked that. Like the hologram of the Fabergé egg, and like the big Julian Sands in 13, like the big room of like an AI. It reminded me of like Mission fucking Impossible. Like, I don't know.
I personally really like it because I also really like the Mission Impossible movies. And I like that they're just leaning in on the silliness and that you don't have to think too much about it. Um, Even like I don't know if the pinch is something in 11 that they make it sound like it could be so real, but yeah, I like the goofiness of it because it just makes it so much more fun to watch.
I agree. I think it's the type of thing that's like, while we're at it, And I think if your heart is just like open to it, then it's easy to accept. And mine was open.
Yeah, I think that the scene where Vincent Cassel is doing the breakdancing through the lasers and stuff, I love that scene. But every single time I watch it, I'm like watching for like, wait, did he step on it? Wait, wouldn't that one have hit him? Like, I like to get lost in it though, because it is just like such a fun scene. I think like, yeah, like what Risha was saying, like the movies are so playful that I can't really get mad at anything.
That is my favorite scene in Ocean's 12 for sure. And the song also that plays. It's so good.
I think generally I'm kind of mixed on the technology stuff. I don't like the hologram, like the Fabergé egg. Like I don't really like that. But I do like the reveal that they did all this like crazy stuff with like technology, and then like the actual heist to steal the egg was like this really like standard kind of like they just fake a fight on the train. Like I really like that aspect of it. Like something about the egg I didn't really like. And I also don't really like Eddie Izzard in the movies generally. And then in 13, I didn't quite understand what the AI stuff was. Like I didn't get what that machine did exactly.
I think I could be wrong, but my understanding is that it like helps the casino to like through like all of this data better come out on top. Like fewer people win, or it's like they can not completely rig stuff, but kind of have more insight or sway on like, I don't know, how people are playing.
And then it seems at some point it like helps Julian Sands recognize whether people's pupils are dilated and whether they're lying, basically. Like if they won, it could very easily detect whether or not they are cheating, right? And it's because the reason why they don't get caught, at least in that first moment, is because they're letting random people win who are genuinely excited. They're not stealing for themselves. They're trying to bleed him. So the technology that they invented is not helping them in that moment. At least that was my understanding. But I also don't really aesthetically care for that. And I like technology bullshit. And what Richa mentioned is absolutely true. Like I love Mission Impossible. I love the God, Pierce Brosnan Bond movies and just like silly trinkets and stuff like that. I'm not against it in theory, and I love the pinch. I think the pinch is the best of the three. The Fabergé egg feels silly and unnecessary, but fun in the same way. It was the third one where I started to get a little bit like, what is this setting? It looks a little bit Hollywood set, like a little boring. And I love the Mission Impossible movies, but there's the AI thing in the third in the last one that I just get a little bored of. But I'm it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the franchise. It's just like if I think about it too hard, I start to be like nitpicky, and maybe I don't need to watch the movie like that. And I mostly don't. I mostly just enjoy the ride and the thrill of it. Because for the most part, I love like close up magic and I love pickpockets and I love, getting the crew together. And like, those are just like things that are just fun movie magic stuff.
I feel like in terms of talking about that, it was making me think about how like I feel like Ocean's 12 and 13 are like kind of two different ways to approach the idea of a sequel. Like I feel like 13 is more of the like nostalgic, we're back at a casino, there's like we're hitting a bunch of the same shots from the first one, like
Give the
things like
people what they want.
yes. And like I feel like it was probably after like Ocean's 12 didn't do so well, but like I so prefer 12's approach where it's just like we're just being crazy. Like we don't care.
And 12 has the whole bit of like, we don't want to do a heist. They're making us do a heist, right? It's very Matrix Resurrections, like commenting on the fact that we didn't want to do a sequel and we're being forced to do a sequel. And I think that was part of the reaction of like, get over yourselves, you celebs. You're like hanging out in Rome. What are you complaining about? But I think that like setting it in Europe, I like both movies because one is like a bloated sequel, 13, of like of Las Vegas excess, and 12 is like it's going for a European art film energy. It's like it'll switch to black and white and like handheld and digital and like is it 12 or 13 that has that crazy shot of Matt Damon running where with the blue filter where it's very clearly making fun of the Bourne franchise? Is that 12? Where it just like the camera just starts going crazy. And it's funny. It's a funny joke, and it's Soderbergh, poking fun at one of his stars. And I agree. I like both approaches. And I think that if you're going to set your film in Europe, you can't do an American rat-a-tat, Rat Pack Oceans movie. You have to do the European version. You have to do French New Wave.
And I think for me that kind of goes back to the question of liking Ocean's 12 when I was a kid compared to now. I think I used to not like it as much because I liked because there's no casino, there's no Las Vegas, and I think 13 does come back to that, like what Carmel was saying about that nostalgia and maybe 12 not doing so well. But as an adult, I now appreciate 12 a lot more for doing its own thing. But as a kid, I was like, I want to be in the casino. Like, where's the Vegas energy? But yeah, I do love 12.
I think it also like steps away from sorry, my cat just walked across the keyboard. It all like the second one steps away from kind of we were talking about like the specific roles, and like part of that is like they're playing with it because like Rusty's the center of that one, so it's like it's not like Danny is kind of barely in 12 except for like a few funny scenes. But like I feel like the crew is more just like hanging out than like having specific roles, and like that's also part of like the heist being more confusing and like like more kind of just bringing in the new characters like Vincent Cassell, like what is he doing, like I don't know, I feel like they're just sort of like, that was also why I was like very confused by it as a child. And I think I liked as a kid the like the specific roles was very satisfying. And I think like they blew that up, which I like a lot now, but yeah.
My number one favorite line in all three of the movies is when Rusty is resting his head down on the thing, and Danny's going, "Should we get one more? You think we should get one more? Let's get one more." And it's so like that captures exactly the Soderbergh energy of what these movies could do, where you could have a character not move, not speak, he's not acting up against anything. He's sitting in the same position, and it conveys so much. And then I think that scene is replicated again in 12 and subverted when the two of them are standing at the bridge, and Danny's having an emotional catharsis, and Rusty just walks away, and and he's having his own breakthrough by himself. So that's, I think, what 12 is kind of talking about. And honestly, if I'm going to give a critique, I don't remember any of their interactions from 13. Actually, that's not true. Maybe it's the Oprah scene, but so maybe that's the rounding out of their interactions. And I think the film sort of live or die on those two leads being the charismatic movie stars that they are.
I also love I think in 12 when Danny says to Rusty, "Was she worth it?" And he says, "Was Tess." And it kind of makes it like Ocean's 12 is Rusty's kind of 11 in a sense, or it's his time to shine.
Yeah, but I love that line, and I also really love like the funny scene in 12 where they're like, I really take issue with calling us oceans, like oceans. And they were and Linus was like defending it, and he was like, guys, like who do you go to when you need something? And they were all like, Rusty, like what do you mean? It just makes me laugh.
12 is just so much of like undercutting what you like about the Oceans franchise, which is funny. And I am not precious about franchise because I'm not a stan. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's funny to me to think that there's Ocean stans out there who are like, and maybe there are, and maybe Risha, you're head of the fan club. I don't know. But I think it's like, it's in the same way that I find it really bizarre that there's Ghostbusters fanboys, like that there's like these nerds who are like, I've seen Ghostbusters. It's a very goofy movie. Like they didn't need to make any sequels. I like Ghostbusters well enough, but it's funny to me that there's any sort of reaction to Ghostbusters that is like culturally important. There's a critic who's close to the Music Box who we were getting calls at the Music Box and being like, he was like walking into women's restrooms, like trying to like look up people's skirts and all these things. And we were like getting all these calls about this guy. And it turns out all he did was to give a negative review about a Ghostbusters movie. And all these fanboys were like trying to ruin his life. They were like calling his girlfriend saying that he's cheating on her. They were calling all like his employers because he gave a 4 out of 10 review to Ghostbusters Afterlife. Like, it's insane. And the idea that there are these like fanboys out there who are like, we got to get back to the roots of Oceans, like, you know, and there probably are, and we'll probably see them come out of the woodwork whenever this Ryan Gosling one gets made. But like Oceans sort of did their like, let's make the Ghostbusters girls vibe of Ocean's 8, and in both cases they're both directed by guys, and you get sort of like a like I would like to see an Oceans movie about women that's directed by a woman. I think that would be kind of interesting to see, like which director. We talked about this a little bit last week, Paco, or maybe during the Thief episode, of like which director would you like to see do a heist movie? And we were like, Kelly Reichardt kind of just did hers, right, with The Mastermind, and it's like everyone should have to make a sci-fi movie. Everyone should have to make a heist movie. Like, it would be so interesting to see some of our like biggest directors make a heist movie.
I was like, before we started this, I was joking that like I wanted to watch Ocean's 8 because I've been a hater, but like without actually having seen it. And I feel like kind of part of what doesn't appeal to me is sort of this like big blockbuster, overly nostalgic, like very capitalist feminist vibe that I get from it. And like I feel like if it were actually directed by a woman, I would probably have way more respect for it or interest even in like what they're doing to like twist the story to that perspective.
Are there any like Soderbergh super fans out there in this group right here? Like, I feel like he's the thing that I think ties together this franchise so perfectly. And I think like taking an old movie like in Ocean's 11, right? Like that nobody really cared about, if I'm being honest, like, and making his own version of it. Like he's so interesting and so creative. Um, he has a new movie coming out this week, The Christophers. Are there any like? Do you guys watch all Soderbergh's movies? Because I feel like I have complicated up and down feelings with him, but
I haven't seen as many movies of his as I'd like to watch. The ones that I've seen, I do like a lot. And I think he is the reason that Oceans 11 through 13 are so good. I feel like it would, I don't know how it would look if it was directed by someone else, but I really like Logan Lucky, which I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I really like that movie. I think Daniel Craig is hilarious in it. And Magic Mike, of course. But I haven't seen, there are a lot on my watch list.
I was gonna say no, but then I was like just now looking through his filmography, and I feel like I have emotional connections to a lot of these movies. Like Traffic is my parents like saw that in theaters together. It was like the first movie they went to see. That's like not a date night movie, also. um and then Contagion, we watched 50 minutes of it. Every year I remember having PE in high school. We never finished it. But I definitely went and finished it in 2020. Um there's some good shit in here. I mean, come on, give him his flowers. I like Aaron Brockovich. I like Kafka.
Out of Sight.
With Logan Lucky, I also like Logan Lucky. I think it also has the like him just being playful with the persona thing that Jeremy mentioned of like different movie stars. Um and then just like that's kind of an Ocean sequel or spin-off in a way. Like he's really just like playing with the form, setting it in a new place. Um I had a funny experience with that one though, where like the Soderbergh movies that I like, I really think of them as just like pretty undeniable crowd pleasers, like that I can show even people who aren't super into movies, like Ocean's 11, like that's such an easy recommendation to make. And one time with my family in Indiana, like we put Logan Lucky on in the background because my parents and I had seen it and they hadn't, and like people were talking over it, like there were like a bunch of people there not fully paying attention. But afterwards, like two of my aunts were like, I hated that movie. Like, like what was that? And like they've brought it up like in the years since then. And I'm just like, I am so curious. Like I really like want to pick their brains and be like, why did you hate Logan Lucky so much?
did anyone see Presents or Black Bag last year?
I did both in theaters, and I feel like it was out of like there is this reverence for Soderbergh and like what he's doing creatively and also just like being an out of the box director. But I would say like of his last couple of movies, like Black Bag Presents, Kimmy, not like I watched them and I was like, this is fine, but I wasn't like I was happy he was doing it, but I wasn't like, these are the best movies ever. Like I expected so much from Presents. I was like, this sounds so cool. And I think it was just like too overhyped. Um, but yeah, I feel like there's so many of his movies that people really love, like the Magic Mike sequel, and Logan Lucky that I just like never got around to, and like maybe it'll paint the full picture for me. But I think of Soderbergh and I'm like, he's so prolific, and I think I only really like Ocean's 11. Like I feel like Aaron Brockovich and Traffic a little bit, but Oceans are really like the ones that stick out to me.
Yeah, Sex Lies and Videotape is I think very important to me. Just because it was like, oh, I'm trying to figure out like what like independent movies are, you know, like you're told Clerks and So like there's that 90s energy. I know that movie's the 80s, but um I think Paco and I have the similar feeling that he's sort of a 7 or 8 star guy. Um and that his like lowest for me, his floor is kind of a 5, where I'm like, I don't think he can make an outright disaster. Where his like he has this like competency, and he also makes them fast enough that it's like a really talented artist doing a sketch. And so he does them fast enough that he's not precious about them. He just makes them, he pumps them out, and none of them are masterpieces like Ocean's 11. Like Ocean's 11 is like a big production. So is Che, right? Che is like a big production. And he had a miserable time making Che, and he, got off that and was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to make important movies. I want to make movies that, are more about the process of making them. I love his experimentation with the iPhone, even though I don't love any of those movies. I actually really like High Flying Bird. I don't know if you guys saw High Flying Bird. That's written by Terrell Alvin McCraney, who wrote Moonlight. And it's about basketball. It's about the trade deadline. It's about owners, billionaires, and all these things. And it's shot on an iPhone. And I think it just got buried because of the pandemic.
It came out.
Was it
2019.
before?
Yeah.
Well, it got buried.
It was a Netflix original. So
Unsane as well is one of those where it's like, this should be better. It's 7 out of 10, but it's like, it's shot on an iPhone 2 or whatever, and it looks like insane. And then Paco and I have been talking lately. He's like so clearly just headed toward this AI thing. He's like made an announcement that his Yoko Ono thing is going to be like half AI or whatever he said. He's like, it's like very dreamlike. So that's the logical conclusion of him being obsessed with technology, as Paco said to me. Or maybe Paco, I should let Paco speak for himself.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think if you average out all his movies, I think they're like probably like a 7.5 out of 10 like overall, but there's some like really amazing movies, and then there's a lot of just like solid movies that I will watch one time and then I won't watch again. I do feel like looking at his filmography, I do feel like he's very good at just like ensembles, and I think that's why the Ocean's movies work. And then Black Bag is also like, it's not an Ocean's movie, but like it has that kind of like vibe of like all these like different pieces going together, and I think that's like where he thrives the best. I guess Che is sort of a heist, they're doing the revolution. But yeah, the technology thing, I feel like his past, I guess like decade almost, I feel like he's prioritized like the speed at which he can like make a movie, and like he's a weird guy where like he started in independent film and then went to Hollywood, and now he's like, a lot of people like once they get to Hollywood they can't go back down, and like he's purposely gone back down. And it kind of makes sense to me that he would try to like, he wants to like have the least amount of work because he like takes on so much of that work. Like I feel like he wants like the least amount of other people having to work on it. And it makes sense from that perspective to like maybe want to try doing stuff with like AI and like streamlining. I think that he's being a little naive about what it will actually be able to accomplish artistically, but I guess we'll see what he wants to implement.
Yeah, I think like with a lot of the new ones that are more like experimenting with the form, like the iPhone or like Presence, the POV thing, like all of those, like I'm interested in them more in theory, kind of because they are like those quick sketches, and I'm like, cool, like maybe I'll come back to this someday, but I don't know. Like when I think of other people who do a lot of experimenting with like the form, I'm like, I like Gemini Man because Ang Lee like really put a lot into it. And I kind of wish, I don't know, I'd be curious to see like if he did get like a big budget again, or like did a bigger scale project, but like using like the same like experimentation that he's been playing around with for so long. Like I kind of want to see what that looks like. Because a lot of the others, like, I don't know, I like the idea of it being like sketches, and like I think a lot of stuff can come out of like not being precious with things, but yeah, it just is like my interest has kind of like plateaued.
I saw Presence on a plane, The same, like I watched it back to back with another movie that was experimenting being in a house, and the only shot is in the house, which is Here. One of the, I think probably the most clown down movie of the last couple of years. And I kind of liked them equally, where I was like, this isn't really work for me. It's really interesting in theory. I'm happy I watched it on a plane where I felt like I was going crazy. Like I didn't, if I would have seen Here or Presence in a movie theater, I may have been upset. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of like, does this even matter? But I'm happy for you guys that you got to make your weird little movie. Here felt like Screen Life, which made me happy. But um I think Soderbergh should make a Screen Life movie. That would be cool. Um anyway, I think Soderbergh is just one of those guys where it's like he'll make 40 more movies. He's the opposite of Tarantino, right? Like that, like being precious about your filmography thing. Like fuck that. Like I'd rather you make 8 bad movies and then one movie that means a lot to me than being super hyper precious. And I think there's do you guys know Francois Ozon? He made God, Summer. He's a French filmmaker. He made not Summer of Love. God damn it. But he made The Stranger, which is coming out this year. He's when he's like very Music Box Films core, where they've picked up like the last like 4 of his movies. Because in France he's very disrespected. He's kind of the Soderbergh of France, where he keeps making movies. He makes like 2 movies a year. Like Hong Sang-soo is another one, right? Where they just make movies, and in France, I think there's an expectation that directors are really important, so they should take their time to make their movies. And Francois Ozon has no interest in that, and so his movies sort of get disrespected. But I think there's an interesting thing there where it's like, if you're not precious, if you're willing to work with the same groups of people again and again, and make weird things, then some interesting stuff is going to come out. And maybe I'm the first person to say that Soderbergh is like Hong Sang-soo and Francois Ozon, but like I like that style of guy who just doesn't think about it, just put it out in the world.
That's so interesting. I'm gonna be thinking about that because like I love the way Hong Sang-soo does it. Like for some reason it feels like of a part of like a bigger like vision that I think is interesting, but I don't know why maybe I'm not looking at Soderbergh that way. Maybe it is just because of like, you know, seeing oceans and being like comparing everything to that. But I'll be thinking about that. I'm glad you compared that.
If there's no other sort of major points we want to make, then I want to ask the question that we asked to all of our
Oh,
the
there's
people
one
coming to
thing.
this. Yeah, go ahead.
There's one thing we didn't get to. Richa, I know that you had something to say about Julia Roberts and George Clooney, and I think we should give you some space.
I feel like we haven't talked about the romance in the movies very much, and I think in Ocean's 12, I love Rusty and Isabel Lahiri, our Indian queen. And in Ocean's 11, and I mean in 12 too, but I just love Danny and Tess. And at watching these movies at a really young age, I feel like that was a romantic blueprint. Like I looked at them and I love the scene where she's like, "You're a liar," and he's like, "I only lied about being a thief." And then he asks about Andy Garcia, like, "Does he make you laugh?" And she says, "He doesn't make me cry." And I just it's such a good scene. Their chemistry, I think, is incredible. Like it's my favorite I can think of. One, I mean, off the top of my head, my favorite Hollywood chemistry. And my comparison for anyone listening to this who knows these people is Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol in Bollywood. They are like the T is that, well, they would always be paired together in movies in the 90s, 2000s, to the point where their chemistry was so is like so insane that her real life husband, who's also an actor, Ajay Devgan, doesn't doesn't allow them to, or doesn't like it when they spend any time off of camera together. Like they don't spend time together because yeah, that's a whole other thing. But their movies like DDLJ, Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, like very, very big movies in India. They have insane chemistry that for some reason I think I grew up on those movies too, and I think Oceans maybe is reminiscent of that. So that's my parallel that I think I make when I watch these movies.
Is
It's very specific.
there a big Bollywood heist movie?
Oh, not one I can think of off the top of my head, but there has to be. I've probably seen one. I will think about that. Not one I can think of.
I do love how romantic these movies are, and I think that the score in 12 is something that I just think about all the time. It's some of the most romantic music. Because like the first one's so you know what I mean? It's like, the bongos while people are moving, and the second one is so romantic, and it feels like the streets of Europe. You know what I mean? It's really you're swooning, and the freeze frames, the jumping out the window, these things that make me very emotional. And I adore. I love romance, because it's good that everyone's hot in the movie, like we were talking about, like everyone's hot. Um, but there's so many movies about hot people who have no chemistry, and this is a movie about everyone having chemistry, from Scott Kahn to Affleck, to from Rusty and Danny, from Isabel and Rusty. Like it's just different people having chemistry with each other. And the romance is off the chart.
I do love the score in especially 11 and 12, but definitely 12 for being different from 11 in that way. I think it's David Holmes that does it for all three of them. But I don't Ocean's 13 score did not stick out to me as much.
Yeah, I just want to say in terms of them all like having chemistry with each other, when I think about movies that I loved so much as a teen, and like Ocean's 11 definitely was. When you guys were talking earlier, I was trying to think like how I remembered 12, and I think probably when I was a teen, I like my only impression of it was like the Julia Roberts playing herself thing. But I had like a lot of love for 11, and yeah, like movies like that I have in my heart when I was like growing up is like I always like would adopt those speaking patterns for like weeks after seeing it. And I just think like obviously it's the writing, it's the lines, but it's like the way that they play off of each other is like, oh, it like has you like kicking your feet while you're watching it. Like every line is great. And I do think it has all to do with chemistry, because it's not just that the lines are quotable, it's like how they're delivered, like the reaction of the other people. It really is like the time flies when you're watching it. I think it's all the chemistry.
And now I believe it is time to ask you guys the question that we ask all of our guests on the podcast. If you had to recommend a food place, a restaurant, uh, a, an area of the city that has good food, just recommend a restaurant to us, with your knowledge of Chicago. And if you wanted to add a location you would heist or rob, that's on you as well.
I have one. Sorry, I was just making sure I didn't like misquote the exact street it was on because that'd be embarrassing. But I grew up going to this mariscos place with my dad, and it's still there. It's called La Palapa. It's on Damon and 34th. It's like right by the Target on 33rd, if you know it. And yeah, shout out. Everyone should go. We recently went.
I think the one that I would say one of my favorite restaurants here, as a newer Chicagoan. But I love QXY in Chinatown. It's a soup dumpling place. Um, and I love the look of the inside, but also the food is incredible. It's always very busy, and they make everything by hand there. But just yeah, those are some of the best soup dumplings I've had in the city.
I stole this restaurant from our friend Greta, who did grow up here and has known it her whole life. It's like one of her favorites. But Opart Thai is like so good. It has like so many of the classic dishes, but like I think of it as being like the classics, but 30% better and like more layered in flavor than like a lot of places. Um, great prices, great. Yeah, I love Opart so much. Places to rob. I have a friend who works in the archives at the Newberry Library. I'm not gonna say what I would rob, but I know that they have some good stuff.
Um, I it's hard to pick just one, but my favorite sort of casual place, like you just go in, get something really fast. Paco's Tacos on Archer and like Kedzie or something. Um, that's my South Side pick. My North Side pick would be Sunset Pho, which is on like Clark and Diversey. It's like a sweet like couple where it's like one, it's like she's Vietnamese and like she has all the like Vietnamese items on the menu, and he's like Eastern European and has like an Eastern European section of the menu. Um, and somewhere I would rob, I don't know. If we had to pull together a heist, I kind of like going to a workplace. Like Carmel found like a workplace that she could rob. You know, we have an inside man already. Maybe I would find something to rob from a historical place. But I feel like in the last podcast, I didn't want to incriminate myself, and I will not be doing that on the Oceans podcast either. Nice try, Jeremy.
Yeah, I forgot to answer that. I think I would heist the Apple store in Lincoln Park.
I also forgot. I love Unabridged, the bookstore. I love all those books.
It's a small
Heist
But
business.
actually,
local.
let me.
Is
I
there
would
robbing a
rob.
small business?
No,
Rachel?
that's what I was about to
I
do.
like
No,
that.
wait,
we
that's
gotta
what
we
I was-
gotta rob local.
I just said the Barnes and Noble in Wicker Park, the new one. I'd go for that.
I'm gonna go for 1 second and just say that the Music Box trivia, which is what I experienced, is the best trivia in Chicago. It is the funniest. It is the most difficult, and it is the best curated atmosphere that I've had playing trivia. I've done a lot of trivia. I don't kind of like stand up and improv. Most of the time, it makes me want to leave the space, and I know that the vibe that you guys curate, no matter where you do it, whether it's with the Davis, whether it's down the street at Corridor, and at the Music Box, is some of the best times I've had with movie people, and that could be a hard thing to ask. So I just want to shout out the trivia girls here on the podcast, and just say that everybody should sign up if you're listening to this podcast and you like movies, but more importantly, you like spaces that don't feel like you need to flee from them with movie people. Go support the Trivia Girls, and continue to do that. Is there anything else that you guys want to plug outside of your trivia?
No, thank you, Jeremy. Those are kind words, exactly how we feel about our trivia as well. And grateful for our associate Richa, who plays trivia with us and also is a loyal attendee of our trivias as well. So, but I don't think we have anything to plug, but feel free.
Yeah, you guys can't see this, but Carmel is in Jeremy's apartment with a gun right now, and she was holding it to his head as he read the script. You really sold it, Jeremy. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for not pulling the trigger, Carmel. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
I'm very flattered to be here with the Trivia Girls.
We needed her. We needed her.
We're probably
Oceans
the four of
forever.
us are movie girls, so it's
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't simplify.
Yeah. Trivia girls in other ways.
The canary has flown the coop. What the
Flown. You said floon.
Margot at the wedding was mid. Paco, I'm trying to say in code I want to talk about Eight of Diamonds. Do you not understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I get it. I see.
You didn't understand that I was doing a code names, or what was the thing that they say in Ocean's 12 when they're
With
like
Matsui.
they were doing a blank, they were doing a code names.
I wish I had any poetry memorized. That would have been a funny thing. To be or not to be. Heard that one? All right. That was a great conversation.
That was a blockbuster episode on its own.
Yes, but we still got one last score.
Let's settle up.
Yeah, we still got one last thing to talk about.
Let's go after the real the real heist, the real score here.
The real diamond in the rough.
Mm-hmm. It's rough indeed. We're talking 8 of Diamonds today on the podcast.
8 of Diamonds, directed by Scott Preston and starring a few guys.
Mm-hmm. Definitely people.
A couple of faces who are around. Dietrich Gray, Donald Gibb, and of course, everyone's favorite, Eric Roberts. There's 2 Roberts in this episode, in fact. There's Julia.
Yeah, this is double the Roberts.
Double the Roberts. Julia and Eric. Eric Roberts.
Do you know who else is a Robert? There's 3 Roberts.
Who else is a Robert?
Wow, it's my middle name.
Oh, wow. You're so right.
Jeremy Robert Adler Martyr.
Wow.
And my social security number is... Just bleep that out and no one will know.
Yeah.
I am excited to talk about Eric Roberts. I think Eric Roberts in this movie is better than Julia Roberts in Ocean's 13. Don't you agree?
Yeah, sort of. Eric Roberts is such a fascinating guy because he's in. I think he just will never say no.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned maybe when we were talking that like it seemed like he owed someone a favor. I think he was just doing it for the fun of it. You know, I think like someone
he gets a thrill.
He must like, I can't imagine the budget for this movie was very high. 8 of Diamonds. If you haven't had the pleasure of seeing it, you can find it on eBay. It's available there. I don't think it's available anywhere else. I'm not sure I doubt it got any sort of theatrical release. I'm not sure how this movie came to be, or any connection that it has to the world. It's kind of like its own little weird thing. I feel like there's a possible world. I saw like this is like 20 something logs on Letterboxd, 2 of which are mine, and I feel like there is a world where like it got really big in like The Room type way, but there's so many movies like this where there's just like there's no budget. It's just a bunch of people having fun. It's clearly all those people, like some of them like are like if you look, like they have IMDb pages and like they have like bit roles and like TV shows and other stuff, but it just feels like the director just probably went to Steppenwolf or something and like had all these connections and somehow
not even Steppenwolf,
yeah.
Sub Steppenwolf, Raven Theater or something, like actors who want to be in movies,
mm-hmm.
Who are very, enjoyable. I accidentally just started playing the movie and it started playing in my headphones and it was so loud. Oh my God. That was an insane experience. But I think this movie suffers from a terminal case of being from the 2000s. Like it
mm-hmm.
is, if this was made like a little bit earlier, it would be shot on film.
Yeah.
And I think that this might have like a little cult following. But this is shot on mini DV or something, and it looks awesome. Like it looks like, you know what I mean? It's like from a 2020s perspective, I'm like, yeah, baby. Like, I don't think this movie is like the worst thing I've ever seen. I've seen worse student films.
No, yeah, I think so. The context of why we're talking about this movie is when we initially did the podcast in 2021, we did a heist series, and we were trying to find a heist movie for each decade, and we really struggled with the 2000s. And like I think I was like just looking on IMDb or somewhere, like movies set in Chicago, and this came up, and we were like, well, we have to do this.
Why did we do that? Why did we do one from every decade? That's really stupid.
I don't know. That was just that's what we thought of doing at the time. And
Because it like almost worked. Is that why we did it?
yeah, because it was we had everything but the 2000s. And in retrospect, now we have Public Enemies, so that we could have just
Yeah, we have Public Enemies and the Ocean's movies.
yeah
Now
we could
We didn't have to cover Eight of Diamonds,
yeah,
but we had to because this is the movie everyone thinks about when they think of the 2000s.
yeah no it is a very 2000s. I think you're so right that like if this was filmed like any other time, it would look slightly better. But like
Yeah.
because of the way that it's filmed, it's so weird. Like I can't tell if how much of it is like green screen and how much of it is just like the shitty camera. You know?
Yeah, where it makes it look separated from the background.
Yeah.
I think there are like a lot of like shot in someone's garage with a green screen background, right? Like all the car scenes, like we're talking about. But it is charming.
Yeah.
It's very retrograde, I would say at best, right? But in a I made this joke to the trivia host, I think when we were logging off, that it's like someone's uncle made a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like you're watching, you're a little embarrassed for them, but you're like, "Aw,
Yeah.
Unc made a movie," and like it, including the politics of Unc. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Its depiction and understanding of women is very interesting.
Woman.
at best.
There's one woman.
Of woman.
Oh no,
femme
there's two.
fatale.
There's two. There's three.
There's
three.
two.
They have the two sex workers as well.
Right. You're right. There's the one who's styled like Marilyn Monroe, and then there's the sex workers
Who get beat up, yeah.
So
The first time we watched this movie, I think we watched it together, and we were like it was like gonna be our first like in-person record, and like
Yeah.
we watched it together, and we were so mad that like
we were a little too angry about that.
and now I was really dreading it because like I had that like image of us watching it for the first time and being really bored, and I was really dreading it, and like while I was watching it, I was like, this kind of it doesn't rip, but it was like kind of good. It's not good.
Yeah.
But it was like kind of fun.
No, it's not good, but it's kind of interesting, and I made this joke, but it's kind of the better movie with 8 in its title that has to do with the Oceans franchise. But you know, I enjoyed watching this. I definitely didn't have a bad time. I enjoyed the little like quippy one-liners and the moody tone. It reminded me of like, I don't know, things I shot in Champaign, Illinois. You know, like very like towny. This is towny cinema.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely. It's very, I mean, the first time I watched it, it really reminded me of like the just so many like Tarantino ripoffs. And that's definitely like kind of like what the dialogue is going for sometimes.
Yeah, it's sub. You know, we talked about that with like Lucky Number 11.
Yeah.
But this is sub that. So it's
Yeah.
like it's been so derived from, it's so derivative of the original product that it's so watered down. It's kind of interesting again.
Yeah.
And it's its own thing. And I'm like, have you ever made coffee and then like pour over coffee or French press, and you just keep going back and putting more hot water over? This is like 8th round.
Yeah.
Right. Where it starts to kind of get interesting again. Where it's like, does this taste like just water? That's how I feel. This is 8th round coffee.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's so,
There's a 25% chance that the people who made this movie are going to listen to this. So we should not be mean.
no, I think what I appreciate about this movie is that compared to like a Hollywood Tarantino derivative, it's a lot weirder. And it's not like it doesn't feel like a cynical cash-in. And I think it makes me like appreciate what it's going for.
There's personality.
Yeah, definitely.
There's like real like theater, like these are theater performers, right? And they're very expressive and they're pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are kind of out acting Eric Roberts.
I kind of like Eric Roberts.
Yeah,
I see
did
what
too,
you mean.
But you know what I mean? It's like has paycheck energy and they have like, I have something to prove energy.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's also not like, I'm giving it a lot of credit by saying that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the people who made this movie, but it is also very slapped together last minute. It feels very rushed. It feels like they had to be out by noon at certain
definitely.
locations. But I had a good time.
Let's talk about very briefly about the plot, but it's essentially about a guy and his friend who they committed a heist stealing a diamond, and they're their partner ate the diamond. 8 of diamonds.
Yeah.
8 of diamonds.
8 of diamonds. Wow.
And dies.
Realize.
Yeah, realize. And then they try to steal the diamond from his stomach, and then they get caught by a cop.
Yep.
And one of them goes to jail for 5 years.
Okay, big criticism of this movie. Complicated plot.
Yeah. And then all the interstitials are done awesomely on just like a Photoshop, like Microsoft Paint image of like the downtown, like the faces, and it'll have like just the name of like the next section. And at some point they forget to do that. Like halfway through the movie, you don't get those anymore.
Yeah.
The main guy goes to jail for 5 years, and then he gets caught into this weird femme fatale situation. And Eric Roberts is also there. The cop who caught him hires Eric Roberts to spy on his wife. It's actually a very complicated plot. But what I like about it is that it's super convoluted, and yet it's filled with like all these like strange monologues that don't go anywhere. And
I know.
And like I kind of appreciate that he just kind of like the director just lets them riff. Like there's a lot of like long scenes of people just talking over and over and over again. It doesn't move the plot forward at all. But it gets kind of like it rides this line between like inept and genius, you know?
Right.
I think I texted you that I've recently read Will Sloan's book on Ed Wood, and I think it made me appreciate these movies that like aren't well made, but they definitely have like a vision to them. And that's kind of what the movie feels like.
And a crew of people who care about each other and are trying to, put something together. What you brought up, Ed Wood, the movie that I thought about is a movie that hasn't been released yet, but it will be soon. And I'm shouting out my friend who made this movie called First Feature. And First Feature is made by Curtis Matsky, who's a friend of mine and should definitely come on this podcast. He made a movie because he's from Michigan, and there was this guy in town at Michigan State, I think, who made movies that were insane. His name is TRK, Thomas Riley King. And this is a movie about that guy's first feature that went on for like 10 years, that he kept reshooting, and he kept it's like townie cinema. It's like he used all of his friends. He shot on a DSLR. He kept adding scenes, but it just has this like boundless creativity and care behind it. And a thing that I hate about The Room is that the irony that has been poured over it. And I think when you view some of these other sort of less known filmmakers who are never going to make a polished work, but who make movies like this, you just have an appreciation for their process and the way that they work on stuff. And he had this... it's a movie called Enduring Destiny. That's the movie, his first feature, the one that he's working on forever. And it is just, it's true independent cinema. It's outsider art almost. It's Ed Wood style, but Ed Wood was even more accepted, right? Like there's, he worked with like Boris Karloff and stuff.
You're thinking Bela Lugosi.
Sorry, Bela Lugosi, not Boris Karloff.
And he wasn't really, Bela Lugosi was kind of depressed and out of money
at the end of his but I mean, like, even TRK isn't working with those people. He's working with like the barista, you know what I mean, like in town, and it's still, he thinks he's in Hollywood, like he's making movies like he's in Hollywood. He is completely delusional, and that's a movie about that delusion, and that like he sort of has to come back down to earth, being like, I'm never gonna make it, and I gotta be okay with that. And I don't know anything about the filmmaker behind this movie, and I don't think he's the next Ed Wood. I don't think he's going to recreate this. But the feeling of watching this, like you texted me, it gives you that similar feeling of like, oh.
Yeah. He has made some like random like documentaries and stuff. He had some documentary about the 85 Bears. Stuff like that.
I should watch that.
Become a Scott Preston tourist.
Yeah.
That movie, what you're describing, reminds me of the Milwaukee classic American movie,
Yes. So first feature is very much so.
Yeah.
A American movie riff. And not riff. It's a documentary. It's going for the same sort of story.
Yeah.
I think the ire about bad movies should be reserved for Hollywood.
100%.
And you know, the worst movie of all time should be something like Lion King 2019. Not Eight of Diamonds or like, you know, someone's local, you know, like whenever you see like people be like, anyone who's saying that like Nocturnal Animals is the worst movie they've ever seen, they need to like be on a jury of a festival. Like you don't watch the movies that get submitted to festivals. It's like, no, those movies are not the worst movies ever made. Those are like movies that people cared about, that they tried, and they're just not polished.
Yeah, definitely. And there's something, I don't know. I'm not like clamoring to watch more of this type of movie, but it's like fun occasionally to like see what people are trying to go for and like what they succeed and what they fail at.
And it was fun watching it right after watching The Ocean.
Yeah.
Like some of the most like charismatic movie stars of all time.
Yeah.
And having it be like Julia Roberts' brother.
Yeah, that's really funny. We should talk a bit about him just because he does not stand up once. Or maybe I think his first scene. I think he's standing up in his first scene.
And then that's it.
He, like when he meets like with the cop and they're like on the fake Lakeshore Drive. Right. Yeah, he's standing. But I think he's leaning against a car.
He's leaning. He is never fully upright.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
It's impressive. I kind of like the scene where they cut the body open.
Yeah, that's like nasty and like funny and like
gnarly.
Funny. The violence is just super cartoony. It's funny.
Yeah, I didn't think any of the way that they were like, you know, this dame, like when it started being like a noir riff, I was like less into it.
I love the parole officer.
Oh yeah, he's good.
He's saying the craziest shit all the time.
He was a bolt of energy for the movie for me.
Yeah, he was really fun. Let me see if I can find his name. Gotta give him his props. And the main guy was serviceable.
Yeah, he's a face. I feel like I've seen him and stuff. I like any scene of Eric Roberts driving.
Yeah.
What are the faces called at Millennium Park? Are they just called the faces?
Yeah, I don't know.
I liked that the interstitials were on those. That was funny and reminded me of like, you know, like you're saying MS Paint or something.
Yes. So the guy who plays the parole officer is Freeman Coffey, and he was at some point doing shows at the Goodman.
The Goodman, yeah, that makes sense.
And this is actually the second movie we're doing with him.
What was the other one?
Home Alone 3.
Yes. Paco. That's what I wanted to hear.
He's also in Hardball.
So we will cover him again.
I think we might get fourth. We might get 4 with him.
What's the fourth?
He's in something called Chicago Overcoat.
Okay, so we will now be covering Chicago Overcoat because Paco and I, if anyone is listening to the episode at this point, you care about this.
Oh, wait, no, there's a much better movie that we should do.
Don't reveal it. Let's reveal it when we cover it.
Okay.
Paco and I discussed doing a special fun celebration of an actor once we've covered 4 of their films, or through 4 different episodes, because like we did 7 Chucky movies or whatever. But.
Yeah. So Freeman Coffey, he was also in Steppenwolf. I think he's just like a local actor. So he's around.
He was good.
He was good. He was my favorite part of the movie. Yeah,
Any other comments on the movie? I'm already out.
You know, if you were to rate the Ocean's Trilogy and Eight of Diamonds, you know, out of like a star rating, like what do you think you would give them?
Well, if I like lined them up like they were, you know, cards in a deck, if they were the river, there would be 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Huh.
Kind of like the flag.
Whoa. So you give them each 1 star to add up to 4.
That sounds like I'm giving them 4 stars altogether. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. You know, they all had their pros and their cons. Get it? Because they all had their pros and their cons.
And their cons. Paco, you're so smart. You're so smart.
But I would say I enjoyed all of them. And you know, I think if I were to like average out the rating, you know, I think I would maybe give them 4 stars. Kind of like The Flag.
Kind of like The Flag.
Yes.
That makes sense to me. Well, thank you so much for listening, everybody. You can find us on the interweb, Chicago Pod Film on most platforms, and email us with any corrections, anything we got wrong. If you're the filmmaker behind 8 of Diamonds, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to have you on, maybe to cover Chicago Overcoat. You can reach us out at chicagopodfilmcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Please be considerate when talking on your phone or listening to electronic devices.